back now, and we're good. Hopefully. We will see. Okay. Okay. Oh shit. I'm attacked by a doggo. Big stabby doggo. No. Oh, he's dead. Ah. Oh wait, what? Okay, there we go. Hey Sarah, hey Wingless Monkey. Okay, so we're gonna have Sarah on. Sarah's gonna call in, or I'm gonna call Sarah just now. So I'm just gonna, well, at the end of this cutscene anyway, I'm gonna turn down the volume so we can talk over the game incredibly rudely and share our Wolfenstein opinions online. Hey, Mizella. Hey, Jess. Hey, Jess. Okay, there we go. Options. Audio right the way down. And let's give this thing a go. Where we do this. Ooh, cripes. There we go. Hello. Yep. Hello. Sarah.
Hello.
Aha. You are.
Yes.
You are live on the World Wide Web.
I'm live on the entire internet. That's incredible.
I know,
How are
right?
you?
Good. I just watched all these videos, so I've been crying. Been crying a lot today. Who knows what?
I didn't know that was out yet. Oh no. Uh-oh.
It's okay.
Uh-oh.
You can go watch it right after this.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
It's very good. It's not. I'm gonna say it's not what I was expecting. Actually,
That's good.
I was expecting something that was kind of just like adding more of the details of the cosmonaut in, kind of, which it does in a way, but but it's really a different topic at the same time.
Okay.
Like it's a whole new perspective. It's very good. It's really good.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I guess I had this underlying fear that it would in some way like conflict with my BPD video, and that like my BPD video would just be erased from history. But,
Oh no.
But it doesn't. We're okay. It's all good. It's all good.
All right.
Yeah. So, Wolfenstone.
Wolfenstein, actually.
Oh, like the Wolfenstein Bears, I believe it was.
Yes. I can't take credit for that joke. My friend Marble said that while we were trying to play
okay.
Youngblood yesterday.
Okay.
It's
very good. I like it.
It's a good joke.
So I like the differentiation in titles that Machine Games have gone for. Just seeing as you brought up Youngblood, I like that they had New Order, New Colossus, and in between those, people wanted to know what was going on with Blazkowicz before, so they made the Old Blood, and then you have like Old and the New, right, to contrast these two eras. And now they've got Old, New, and Young. That's very good. Yes. I like that a lot.
It is fun. It is also kind of confusing.
I see that too. I definitely see that too.
I've had people who haven't played these games until like recently when I said, "Hey, you should play these games," and folks were like, "Which one should I play first?"
Huh.
And sort of confused as to the order.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they ask, "What about all of the other Wolfenstein games?" No, don't worry about those.
Yeah, that's That's probably the best answer to give, in my opinion. Don't worry about those. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah. They don't exist.
Pretty much.
So this is like my favorite game.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've played this game a bunch. I've probably played it from start to finish like 6 or 7 times.
I don't know if I match exactly that, but I've played it through quite a few times. Oh cripes! Oh no! Fuck! I say that and then I throw a grenade in a small room. Oh cripes! Oh, the door's open. Excellent. I have forgotten the controls, however, of course.
Of course.
Just to make myself look like an absolute loser online. Here it is.
No.
There we go. Where's my guys? Let's shoot the guy. Shoot. Do the shoot. Okay.
Do the shoot.
I haven't played it in a while. Is the good excuse for why I just threw a grenade in a tiny closet that I was in. But
that's fair.
But I when I first got it, I instantly played it through. I played it through the one time, and then I played it through like 3 more times in a row because it was I actually got New Colossus first because I got it when it came out.
Wow. And
then I was just like, I need to know what was that in the previous one. I need to know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what I was saying before, when the... Oh my god, what is going on? There's the guy. What I was saying before the stream failed because I hadn't installed this all the way, was that I was watching the footage for Youngblood earlier, and I was thinking, this looks fine. This is, like, in terms of graphics, sorry, to be clear. I have some opinions about how the game looks. I was thinking, like, the graphics of this look fine, and then I booted this up just now, and I was like, wow. Turns out technology has made progress. That there is progress in human, like, it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how these games, like, I remember this looking excellent.
Oh yeah, well, like the way you remember like Sonic Heroes or whatever looking just like better than the movie.
Yes.
And in actuality, no.
Yeah. I distinctly remember being a child and thinking, like, how could you possibly get more photorealistic than Donkey Kong Country?
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, the first time I got that effect really hard was I got Star Wars: The Force Unleashed on both Nintendo DS and Wii, but Nintendo DS first. And after I'd had it on Nintendo DS, I got it on Wii. I played that, stayed up like 2 days solidly just playing it. And then I was like, and then I thought for a second, and I was like, this is cool and there's the motion controls, but it doesn't look that much better. And I opened up the DS and I was like, holy balls! Darth Vader is just a black triangle! What the fuck? Like...
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's my first death because I'm distracted. In another alt reality, it's Wolfenstein, where you have to defend a talk radio show.
Oh, Lord.
I should probably tweet out. I should probably tweet out that you're on the show. Oh, you just did. I'll whatever. It's fine.
I mean, there's not a limit on tweets. One can always tweet more.
No, it's like global warming. We're actually running out of tweets now.
Oh, hell. What are we going to do? It's I think this is going to be the thing that finally encourages me to engage in some local activism. Because if the tweets are running out, I don't know.
I mean, yeah. Exactly. Like, what are you going to do with your time? Twitter certainly is a curse and a curse.
Yeah.
That's my current funniest joke. Everyone I tell it to loves it.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, because all of my friends are terminally online. So conveniently, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kill him. Kill the guy. There he is. He's dead. So yeah, you've played this like 6 or 7 times. What do you think of New Colossus by comparison?
My general feeling was that this is a better game overall.
Mm-hmm.
But the New Colossus is an exceptionally good story.
Right. Okay.
But I played through the New Colossus like in a single day.
Right.
On Stream a few days ago.
Okay.
And I actually liked the gameplay of it a lot more than I remembered.
Okay, that's interesting.
But I still had to like turn the difficulty all the way down in a couple of spots because I was playing for a stream. I wasn't exactly like,
Yeah, I get
going
that.
for a
No,
world record.
Yeah, I'm playing on the second lowest difficulty right now. So like, yeah, because I do just want to kind of go through it. Because I've got young blood as ordered because somebody kindly sent me the money for it, which is cool. Mabase says, if only he debated that guy instead of simply stabbing him in the neck. I know,
right? Yeah.
What about the tolerant left? Right? What happened to civility? That's what I want to know.
I think the real cuck is BJ Blazkowicz because he won't go on YouTube and debate me personally.
He should have stabbed his idea market. I think people have a memory of New Colossus that is kind of based on so as with many sequels, right, there's an expectation for it to like follow a similar-ish pattern, meet certain expectations that the first thing did. And the first game mimics the old Wolfenstein by having Nazi in a big robot suit fight you on top of the castle in the rain, perfectly mimics it, right? And so just so everyone knows, I'm gonna suck ass for this section while I'm trying to espouse a game theory because I can't play and theorize. But New Colossus did the infinitely excellent move of having you surprise attack the Nazi by having taking the advantage you have of surprise. I said this in my video, but the ultimate surprise of being alive when this person personally cut your head off. Yeah. And then you just kill her. And that's a sensible move because the message of the game is stay alive at all costs because fascists will kill you if you give them an inch. And that's good. But I think because of that slightly more nuanced take, because the games do actually kind of care about communicating some ideas about fascism, people, I'm going to say naturally, people reacted to that with some disappointment, some and then some massively over the top hatred because it contained a WOM who was also brown. That's and yeah.
It's I remain disengaged from the critical reception of that game almost entirely, and recently I've been talking about Wolfenstein a lot. I've encountered a lot of people saying oh, I thought that game was bad, and everybody agreed. And I'm are you fucking kidding me? Excuse me? Hold on. No, this game is amazing. You say
to them, what the fuck did you just say to me? And then you send them to their room to wash their mouth out with soap.
Yeah, people I've had people tell me well, I thought that Wolfenstein 2 was cringe.
Oh my god!
And it's like...
Was it cringe? Are you fucking... Oh, God, I'm getting so mad already.
Yeah, like, it's cringe because it's an emotional story about trauma.
Yeah, like, exactly, yeah.
How uncomfortably compatible fascism is with American ideology.
Yeah, and how anyone who organizes their, like, movement around strength is inherently kind of fascistic and garbage. And how, like, the hey now, I didn't, Sarah, I didn't say anything.
No, you didn't. Of course.
But oh fuck me, I did it. I threw a grenade in enclosed space again. When will I learn? But
yeah, you gotta be way out of the way for that one.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Just blow up big.
Yeah, like, because the message of the game, you know, is that organizing around strength makes you a Nazi, and that, like, the real strength of the resistance is that they're united in their common vulnerability, and they, like, care for one another. You know, that's why the story starts with the protagonist in a wheelchair, and then other protagonist who is disabled getting executed, and everyone's in a horrible bad shape. You know, Fergus loses his arm, or Wyatt loses his ear. You know, the horribly traumatized child of the main antagonist joins your cause, but she's, like, got some issues to work out and stuff like this. Like, you know, it's a gaggle of people who ain't doing so good, and that's a good thing because that's what the left is. And that's the message of the second game, which is awesome. Which is why I say again, it's cringe. What the fuck did you just say to me? and then I get real close in on this nerd and I threaten them.
Yeah. I really despise the idea that masculine characters or just like a narrative about military violence can't have emotional vulnerability.
Oh God, yeah. God, yeah.
Wolfenstein 2 does such a great job of exploring BJ as somebody who is just, like, astoundingly messed up.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
By everything that he has experienced, and I know some people for whom like a lot of the abuse stuff with, like, the dad and the way that game opens up is incredibly heavy. It is. It
does to say that it is traumatizing is not an exaggeration. It's the fucking point of the game.
Absolutely.
They want that moment to literally traumatize you because they want to communicate to you that that's the bastard that BJ had to grow up with.
Yeah.
And that's what a piece of shit he, like, had to live with every day. And then, you know, so that you actually get who this character is. I said in my videos about it, at least I hope I did, that they talked about the, like, internal mind, Machine Games, that is, wanted to examine the internal mind of BJ Blazkowicz, because before, like, you never hear his thoughts, he barely ever speaks, he's just kill Nazi man, he's just man who shoot gun good, and that's cool and all, but, like, what's going on in his head? There's like a gag in an earlier Wolfenstein game which is literally, like, cuts from somebody asking what would his, like, ideal holiday be, or something like this, straight to him killing more Nazis, like, the implication being the only thing about his character is killing Nazis. Like, he doesn't care about anything else. And and that runs exactly counter to the New Colossus, and that message that if you organize around strength, you kind of are a fascist yourself, because, you know, what the New Colossus is about is realizing that, you know, you have to have something you care about, otherwise you're not fighting for anything.
Exactly.
You're just not. It's the Shire argument. I think this is what I call it all the time. Like, it's Sam's speech from the end of the Two Towers, right? We have to be fighting for something. There has to be something worth fighting for. Like, that's the point.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Lorcan, welcome back on the stream.
There are things that the New Colossus does that not even like no other game, but some like movies and supposedly respectable media won't even touch. Like, its depiction of Hitler alone to me is one of the most notable things.
Oh God, yes.
For any video game, any piece of media at all, like it's just so you know, that area that you're at right now at the end of this train hallway, like that's an alternate entrance to the area.
Oh. Okay.
Like there are two ways to start this. Like.
Oh, I see. I get what you're getting at. Should I be going up? Is that what I'm missing out on here?
Yeah, I think it's up these stairs and to the left.
Okay.
I do believe.
Thank you for that direction. Yeah.
Actually, no, it's just straight up. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. You ramble at me for a bit, and I'll do better at gaming. That's the deal. Okay. I'll be a better gamer if you do the talking for a bit.
Okay. I can talk about stuff.
Yeah, Sarah. Let's talk about stuff. Roll credits, ding.
But that's just a theory.
So I've like really outgrown the channel YMS. I used to watch him all the time, but I've really got a bit sick of him. Unless he's watching, in which case, Adam, you're my best friend. But he made this joke one time that like stuck in my head so hard, and I think about it all the time, which is just like he was playing it. I think he was streaming, and he went, "But that's just a theory, a gay theory." And I just think it all the time, because all my theories are gay. Like all my theories are, what if this character was gay? Like it's So
basically,
sorry for cutting you off like that.
No. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people like to laugh at YMS. All my friends, we all like to laugh at a YouTube film critic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think where Wolfenstein 2 bugs me gameplay wise is I think that it's a little bit less satisfying to play. I'm not sure. It's like it has like level design issues, and it's a bigger game with a lot more collectibles. So the result of that is that it feels like they're not as. I don't mean to be anywhere
near as aggressive as I sound when I say this, but could you back up what you mean when you say level design issues? Because this is something I hear a lot, and I do wonder if it's something that just gets recycled as a criticism.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I have to like reflect on it.
That is okay.
But like for me, with like this, with the New Order, this is I felt compelled to go through and get the 100% completion, like find all the collectibles, get all the lore and everything. I did not feel quite the same compulsion with the new Colossus, because there was so much of it and a lot of it was hidden.
Right. Max's toys, for example, I found really, really hard to find that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the fact that like so much of there's the replay missions where you're getting the all the heads of the Oberkommando, which is like fun and cool, but it's also a lot of it feels like recycled content.
Yeah.
And there's the fact that like it feels like they were adding a lot of stuff to the game, and trying to make it bigger when the game didn't necessarily need it.
Right.
Like whenever you're just a head in a jar, you have that moment where you get to choose.
Your gadgets. Yeah.
Your gadgets, and that's one of those things.
That felt like a weird moment to me too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, and it doesn't really add much to me, and it comes so late in the game.
Yes.
It's bizarre.
Right, like I think that Abraham gets kind of overlooked as a character compared to Grace, even though they are like dual heads of the kind of she's like the anti-racist and like she's the feminist anti-racist, and he's like the anarchist and they're meant to kind of be the synthesis of the new woke Wolfenstein together. But like Abraham gets really overlooked because he comes after that, after the execution point, which kind of feels like it feels a little like after you've killed Andrew Ryan in BioShock.
Yeah.
Like, it's the extra bit of the game, a little bit,
yeah. Like, the stakes of the game are not as clear after that point, in terms of, like, the first half of New Colossus has this sense of extreme drama and like fatalism.
Yeah.
Because BJ is just a broken man, and there's no way that he could possibly make it.
Sorry to interrupt again. Mabase is absolutely correct. Carolyn, who was killed, was gay. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Carry on,
absolutely.
sorry.
Yeah. That's confirmed in the lore.
She's heckin' gay. But yeah.
And I mean, like, that's not even a oh, my headcanon is she's gay. Like, there are letters in the New Colossus.
Oh yeah.
About the name was on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it now.
And like also when you go in her room, like literally there's like pin-ups and stuff.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's implied that partially the procedure of transplanting a head was at least initially researched to save Carolyn's girlfriend, basically.
Oh, wow. I missed on that lore.
And it's actually stated that her body is like cryogenically frozen in a coma on the Eva's hammer.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a note from Set where he says that she's brain dead and that they'll never be able to save her. So,
I mean, her head.
There's a bit of like her story is like Carolyn's story is so tragic. You do hear Sarah Zedig box full of bats.
Oh yeah, that is who you're hearing. Yes. I just wanted to say one thing that should not be overlooked if someone were doing something about Wolfenstein and, you know, communities of strength, communities of vulnerability, something like this. Imagine that is what I'm saying. Is that, like, the game does still rely on the core appeal of being really fucking cool. It does still, like, you can't avoid that. Like, when you look at even the New Colossus, which, like, is much more about that, like, weakness is strength thing, still has amazing bits, like when you first encounter the hatchet mechanic. Blazkowicz thinks to himself, lots of things you can do with a hatchet and a Nazi, and you're just there going, fucking yes. Like, it's, you know, that's the point. So
yes, absolutely. This area is so much fun to stealth.
And I fucked it up because of this dog.
Dogs.
I should have had it on the. Oh, there's the guy. Shit, I fucked up so much. I'm now hoping I die. Like, that's how much I like stealthing this area, because it's the best way to do this bit. But now I'm taking out the commandos, so I might not bother. Oh fuck, I'm pinned down. Welp. Please carry on.
I don't know, Bats. I like the stealth in these, and at least in this game.
Oh, the stealth is one of my favorite. Yeah, it's great. Stealthing is slightly less fun in. I'm remembering, like, the Berlin stuff. No, not Berlin. What am I talking about? What am I thinking of? Shit. Some, like, building complex in New Colossus is less fun. Is what I'm kind of picturing right now, but I don't know.
There's a couple places that could be. Generally speaking, the
hooray, I died.
The stealth in the New Colossus is not as I don't know. It doesn't feel to me like it's as doable I don't know. That's so. To go back to like game design issues with the new Colossus.
Oh yeah.
I think for me, Super Bunny Hop has a really good video about this series.
Yeah.
And explaining his issues with new Colossus, and one of them is, and your pistol's got a silencer on it, right?
Should do. It said I got the silencing upgrade earlier, so I'm gonna try it out.
You might have to hit right on the D-pad.
Oh yes. Shit. Good. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. One of the things that he points out that, like, in this game, the commanders are. Oh, thank you, Jess. I'm glad that you liked my labor of art video. I'm proud of that.
Because it's the best one ever. The best video on YouTube.com. Duh.
Oh Lord, that's not true. But thank you. Yeah, my issue with. The thing that he points out is that, like, in this game, the commanders are just kind of out and in amongst the population.
Yeah.
And it's fairly easy to just sort of stumble upon them, or if you're really good, you can snipe them from across the map or like that. It's like doing it stealthy is a lot more manageable.
Yep.
In the new Colossus, they're always like way towards the end of an area, and it's harder to sort of stumble upon them, and it's way easier to alert literally everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that's like one thing, and the result of that is that the levels feel bigger but more mandatory. I don't know if that's I don't know.
Oh no, I think I get what you're getting at. I think I get what you're getting at. Like, so there's more to cover in the level, but, like, you know, because the commander is like, you got to cover more ground to get to the commando. So, like, that means that you're kind of slogging through more of it rather than exploring for fun or whatever.
Yeah,
that seems fair.
I also feel that the impact of enemies has been sort of increased. I think, like, Wolfenstein 2 feels harder in a way that doesn't always feel fair to me. Like, the courtroom.
Holy shit! I was stuck on the courtroom for so fucking long.
Yeah, that, and also, like, towards the end of Venus, those two areas are...
Yeah, that is it. Those are the ones, yeah.
Yeah, there's such giant bottlenecks, and I understand why. But it doesn't necessarily feel necessary to me.
Honestly, to me, the thing they should have done with the courtroom is have you... oh, here it is. Yes? Give me that secret room.
I love this bit.
Yeah. Because of what the courtroom is. Obviously, it's a fantasy. It's the male power fantasy before he wakes up and realizes there's no way out. Like, that is such a chilling and amazing piece of game storytelling. What they should have done is had the enemies be, like, slightly easier in that section, but there just be tons of them. Like, it should have been kind of giving you the feeling of, like, being pretty fucking epic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it should have been designed to kind of, like, maybe even, like, bottleneck the enemies in, so you're just, like, piling up a body pile as they kind of come in through one door at some point, or stuff like this, so that you're just like, yeah, I'm the fucking coolest, that's right. And then, like, you wake up, you know?
Yeah.
Well, then you see your mom, and then it's...
Yeah.
God, when you see Black... Oh my God, I'm just thinking about it again now. I'm gonna have to play that again when I get through to that bit. Jesus. It's the most chilling thing in the world. I ate some dog food. Shit.
Sometimes you gotta eat dog food.
It was war, man. You don't understand.
It's war. You gotta do what you gotta do to survive. I actually, when I was streaming it, that's one of the bits where I cried, is when he was when he has that moment with his mom, because it's so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's so sad.
Yeah. It would be kind of answered to me only by the moment in terms of like a similar representation of like the breakdown of the toxic masculine male in gaming, would be only answered by in the new God of War game when Kratos asks for help. Have you played the new God of War game?
I have not yet, actually.
So in that case, I'll try and keep the details away. But like basically, it's to do with his son. He needs help. Like something's wrong, and it's pretty fucking devastating. Like he realizes it's his fault. Something's wrong, and he can't fix it. And he says to the witch, "Help me." And it's like, whoa.
Wow.
Like that's Kratos talking, like that's so yeah. Similarly, like Blazkowicz, just like with his that's my ally. Okay. Yeah. Like similarly, like Blazkowicz resting his head on his mum's lap. Jesus. Jeepers creepers.
Yeah, it's a powerful moment. I was surprised by how much I cried playing through it again. And that's why I adore these games. Is they're so emotionally honest.
Yeah.
In a way that is just astounding.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like other moments mechanically that feel weaker to me, and I'm thinking about after you meet after you go to New York and you meet, what's her name?
Grace?
And Grace, yes, thank you.
Okay.
You have that moment where you're all alone and that building is being raided by the Nazis. That section is also kind of frustrating because it's a mad resource dash.
Yes.
And
yeah.
It's like I think the game puts you in situations where it doesn't give you enough cover and enough like leeway. There are too many directions for you to reasonably keep in mind, like all sides. Like you can't be prepared for.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and that comes around to being the same problem again when you do as you were saying before, the replay missions, taking out the commandos, and this is something I was going to say before as well. It's actually a big shame they put probably, to me, the most like the most moving moment that is consistent with the game's message. Is at the end of those missions, and it's where you play the new level that you haven't played before, and you kill the final commando, and then you are like standing on the shore looking out at the wrecked Statue of Liberty, knowing that you have cleared all of America and liberated it. Like that's an amazing moment. And
I actually haven't seen that moment yet.
Exactly, that's what I mean. That's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Like it's an amazing moment. It's like that's where I ended my first essay on it. Like I said, like you're standing on the shore there looking out across the sea at hope on the horizon. That's what that moment is. It's hope on the horizon, metaphorically and literally. Like it's awesome. And it's so moving. And then
and they hide it behind content that's kind of framed as like end game optional stuff.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that stuff as much. Part of it, it's like again with like the new Colossus introduces too many new things late in the game. Like if you were able to do those missions from much earlier on, I think it would be a different. there would be a different, like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, like if you were liberating America during the actual story of the game, that would be nice as hell. You're like,
yeah.
Rather than it just being, what it essentially is, it's optional for you to liberate America from the Nazis, and it's like, is that not the point of the game? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have minded so much had more of the levels undergone a change. Like, you return to Roswell at night, and there's more, like, there's more plot stuff that we get, or more lore, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah.
That we get to see in Roswell, when you return to it, and it's the same with like going to Texas and visiting BJ's house, and that becomes a combat level where it's like recreated, and the KKK are there.
Yeah, the movie set.
That's one of my favorite levels.
I really like clearing that in the post game. It's a movie set for the I've forgotten the name of the film, but like, yeah, they're filming the film, and also that's something that it really would have been great if they'd done that. Oh shit, it's this guy. It really would have been great if they'd done that as part of the game, because it actually makes a little less sense after you've killed Engel, because she's a big part of the movie production, so you can kind of assume that like the movie would have been cancelled after she's been killed, so it's a bit strange actually. Shit, I should have dodged. What's good for this? Assault rifle, I guess. Yes, pretty good. Okay. But like, by the way, I don't know if there's something that like kind of matches the one issue I had mechanically with Wolfenstein 2 was that this bit I'm in now, okay, where I'm gonna go up to the door. I don't know if is it right now? No, not yet. It's
pretty soon.
Okay, he's going up to the door too, so it's like, right, the bit where Death's Head, okay, is at the door there, and then the walls start closing in, and you do have the ability to free roam, but the walls are closing in, and Death's Head is like laughing at the window. Like, Wolfenstein 2 has moments that try to capture this same creepiness, like this same amazing moment, right? But don't quite do it, in my opinion. Like, so like all the bits where you're basically in chains and you're like, just completely unable to move except for turning your head to look around, that's not quite as good. And like this is great. This right here, like this is incredible.
Yes.
And then
this is a great moment.
Yeah, and then by contrast, like just being unable to move in Wolfenstein 2 isn't quite as good a bit conveying that idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get an ad for Pokemon Go. What the fuck? Sorry. Yeah. I just got an ad for Pokemon Go on my lock screen when Pokemon Go is not installed on my phone. I'm very... What the heck? My
what
dude.
The heck
my phone. Can my phone be a thing? I feel weird calling my phone my dude. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Hold on. Sorry, I've got people messaging me.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute for a sec.
Alright. I'm gonna have some beer. What's going on in the chat? More constrictive. Just realised it, and I feel more consternation about Ultraviolet, Doom, and Wolfenstein. Good. That's funny. Literal demons versus Nazis. I didn't realise it was Sarah Zedig. So cool to hear you. I love your labor. Okay, so chat hasn't been very active actually. Going to the Doom 2016 thing. Going to do the ballet of dodging. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if people know this, but actually Machine Games designed the combat system of Doom. and did some of the level design.
Huh.
So it's actually common across both. So actually, machine games are a bunch of like retro gamer nerds. They're cool guys, IMO, and like they like to. Wait. I forgot whether I'm choosing to kill or choosing to save. Oh god. Well, it's got a little skull, so
you're choosing which one to kill.
Okay, well, I'm going with the Wyatt timeline, so. What was I going to say? Yeah, they actually, I think they like pitched with Bethesda several times, to like do like different id properties, I think. And I don't know if they pitched for Doom, but like I'm forgetting important details of this, but like it's actually quite good if you look it up, is all I can say. And what I do remember is they pitched several times because they were like really keen on adapting like either Doom or Wolfenstein, or so this game's about choice, but it's about like how your choices suck under fascism, and how you're going to be haunted by the people you lose. At first metaphorically, and then quite literally. Like, you know what I mean. And then the second game does a really interesting thing where, it opens with the dog choice, and the dog choice is futile because everyone chooses not to kill the dog.
Yeah.
And then your dad just blows the dog's brains out anyway.
Yeah.
And then it goes like straight from that to like brief action sequence to like Carolyn getting her head stomped in. And it's like, it's obviously, it's so clearly paralleling this scene, right, where we choose who to kill. Only now there's no choice, and that's the point. Like, so the first one, it's like whatever choices you make, it's gonna suck because fascism sucks. And the second one, it's like whatever. It's like actually you're just not gonna have any choices. Like the whole point of fascism, there is no choice.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
One thing I'll say, I find playing the two routes in the New Order is a lot more fulfilling than in the New Colossus.
Interesting.
For me, like the because like it's not just that the Wyatt and Fergus timelines in the New Order have different like these like mechanics that change up the route that you take, and that you get different story content based on them. But it's also like there's a side character that's different with each playthrough as a result.
Yeah.
I find that the way that those two playthroughs complement each other is really interesting, because both Fergus and Wyatt, when you save them, believe that you made the wrong choice.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the culmination of that thread. Like,
yeah,
you kind of think that it's when you face off against the dead guy in the robot suit, but it's when they both tell you should have saved the other guy.
Yeah. And I think in the New Colossus, like Fergus has a robot hand.
Yeah.
And it's kind of played for a joke.
And
if I remember correctly, that's kind of the extent of his story there. I chose the Fergus route my first time through. And I remember being a little bit underwhelmed. Like, I wanted more from him. And then the second time through that I just did, I chose Wyatt. And the culmination of his story was actually a lot more satisfying, because, Wyatt becomes addicted to LSD.
Yes.
And and like becomes addicted to escapism.
Yes.
And
he becomes the gamer. Yes.
Where he decides to, like, he hides himself, and you have to find him, and he wants to commit suicide.
Yeah.
But you like incapacitate him, and there's a moment where he's on like a bed table, and you're talking to him, and he's like coming to his senses. And Blazkowicz says, "Wyatt, I love you."
Yeah.
Like, that moment legitimately made me cry.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
Because it's such a that level of fraternal love.
Yes.
We just don't get to see often in games, and for it
I would call it
framed
semi-paternal, to be honest. Like,
what?
I would call it semi-paternal rather than just fraternal. Like, it's like,
yeah, that's true.
Wyatt is kind of this like baby boy to like I think. Okay, sorry. Can I since we're on this scene right now, I just need to make this comment.
Go ahead.
This is the real like moment where the meta theme of this game really exposes itself, in my opinion. The way they choose. Okay, so you're making a game. You're telling a story. You can do it however you want to do it, and how they chose to tell this part of the story, okay, which is how the Nazis won the war and how Blazkowicz ended up in the 1960s with the Nazi-controlled world. How they chose to tell this story was Blazkowicz sitting idly by, unable to do anything as the world turns to garbage. And that is, for me, the meta theme. Okay, and I talked about this in my video too. We are updating Wolfenstein. It used to be this old thing, and now it's being dragged into the present day. I mean, it's not the present day because it's the 60s, but it's being dragged into the future anyway. We're updating it. It's got no choice. We're changing it into this other thing. So he's going to sit idly by, and that's what's happening. But also, at the same time, it's kind of a, they had no way of knowing this. This is one of these kind of beautiful things that happens in art sometimes, is you make a story, and it turns out to be incredibly prescient, but you didn't know it was coming. Where they have this character who is sitting idly by, whose whole purpose is to defeat fascism, and he's unable to do anything as fascism just takes over the whole world. But my point was the meta theme of the game, which is like, we're updating Wolfenstein, we're bringing Blazkowicz into a new era, and the way they choose to do that is him just unable to do anything, and then the thing that actually sets him off to be able to do something again is killing Nazis. Like, in this moment here, like, his sense memory for killing Nazis is what brings him back to life, which is kind of amazing.
Yes. And I love... This is also a very important early set piece in showing off that this game is wanting to explore more of the worst aspects of Nazi ideology.
Oh yeah, here's a guy shooting disabled people in the face, yes.
Well, that, and also the fact that this is an asylum where these people are basically forced to supply subjects for medical experimentation.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
And it's like, that's a theme that feels mature in a way that you're like, whoa, hold up. Like, what am I supposed to do? And that is kind of setting the stage for a game that will eventually let you infiltrate a concentration camp.
Yes.
Yeah,
totally. I think it's really interesting. This.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's deliberately like updating its own world in this way. Like, it's deliberately like becoming a new thing. As I say, kind of dragging Blazkowicz into a new world. And at the same time, like, oh fuck, just missed the guy. At the same time, like, there is, as I said, there's like a meta narrative about it, and and like the horrors of it, I think, is definitely a point. Like the fact that he's there sitting by and watching just atrocities happening and unable to do anything is a very salient point about, like, you know, what the game is going to be updated to become. Like, that's the point of what they're trying to turn the franchise, like, into, to actually look at the horrors of fascism. And that's what, yeah, like, I just think there is I just think there is a really strong theme of a meta narrative about what the Wolfenstein franchise is in these two games.
Absolutely.
Because in this one, it's all about updating from what Wolfenstein used to be to what Wolfenstein is gonna be now. And in the second one, there are certain deliberate, I'd say very deliberate, like, points of like, oh, we were a bit silly in that first game. Like it opens on Blazkowicz in a wheelchair with lowered health, unable to do jack shit. Like, he sucks. It's terrible. And this, that's like, in my mind, a very deliberate commentary on the fact that this one opens with Blazkowicz sitting in a wheelchair for 15 years, getting up and slaughtering a trained, like, SS squad. Like, oh, okay, I get... like, I guess they were putting steroids in his gruel every day. For 15
glad he doesn't
years,
have any, like, muscle depreciation.
Yeah,
nothing like that, yeah.
But yeah, I just that my point in evidencing that is just to say that there is a really conscious, like, what we're doing with the franchise message to everything, and so I would say you're spot on with, like, the horrors of fascism being, like, the first thing to this story. Like, we just really need to be shown it, and they really want to show it to us, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Don't notice me, hey, you dumb Nazi fuck. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited for whatever the third game of this series is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, it says a lot that my biggest, like, narrative criticism of the new Colossus is that there's not enough of it.
Yeah.
when your worst problem is I want more of these characters, you're in a pretty good place.
Yes. Well, I mean, to be fair, there's a version of that criticism which sucks, which is just like, wow, you just didn't flesh out those characters. But that's not what you're saying. You're saying I love these characters, give me more. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, there are things that I wish we got to see more of. Like, I wish we got to see more of Grace and the daughter of the general. I can't remember her name. Dang it.
Oh shit. Yeah. No, I know who you mean.
Yeah.
She's got a very German name, and I really liked saying it for my video, actually. Shit, what's she called? No idea. Sorry. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, there's a lot that I wish, like, I just wanted more time with everybody and more time to see everybody, like, interacting with each other. And because things do move very quickly, and it's amusing, and, like, I think again about the Super Bunny Hop video, and there is a good point to be made about the fact that, like, when you go to liberate the resistance in New York, you don't ever see anybody. It wasn't Bridget.
Her name is Sigrun.
Is what?
Sigrun.
Yes.
Sigrun. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. When you liberate the New York resistance, there's no. All you see is Super Special Grace.
Yes. I agree.
Until they say, "Hey, let's, all right, y'all, let's get out of here," and you see like one or maybe two shots in the background,
and then they are, like, around in the ship, but like,
yes,
but like, okay, Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I wanted to see more of them together. You know, I wanted to see more, like, spend a little bit more time letting us see like what they, because one of the things that this game does really well is let you be in like civilian environments, and Wolfenstein 2 has a couple of those, but I just wanted more. I don't know. It's just like there's so many promises of the world and like thematic questions. You just want more. You want more.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. On the new game, on the topic of the new game, I put on Twitter earlier that I do think that the co-op is like a very clever move in terms of the series arc. Right? Yeah. Like, first we've got fascism sucks. Then we've got don't be a macho man, that's not how you defeat fascists. You have to be practical. Right? And now you've got a co-op game, which is like, hey, invite a friend over and kill some fascists. Why don't you plan with a friend to kill Nazis and play video games? Organize with your friends, you know.
Yeah. There are potentially issues with the game in terms of like what Bethesda may or may not have rushed it to be.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, like there's I haven't been able to play the game yet. Me and my friend Marble tried to stream it yesterday, but we couldn't get connected.
Oof.
But I have heard that there's like cosmetic microtransactions in the game, which is a bizarre thing.
That's pretty gross. I mean, yeah, like Bethesda gulp swallows whole turds. There's no mistake to be made about that. I agree.
Yeah, but I did get to see the opening cutscene, which was very long and very good, and I think does explore some of the themes that you're talking about very well.
I mean, so okay, the trailer for the third game has them say in so many words, the way you defeat fascists is not by being the strongest, but by being able to take the most pain. Like being able, you know, like just like it's not about how much you can give, it's about how much you can take. Some sort of weakness is strength sort of thing there. I don't want to like put words in people's mouths, but like it's something about how, you know, about how communities of vulnerability are the important thing. Anyway, I do think that it's definitely in line with that. It was awesome. I really like the sort of first half hour. I shared the footage on Twitter earlier. Oh fuck. No.
These guys are so hard to shoot.
Yeah, they suck ass. Okay. But there is a timeline, a reality in which the first cutscene is long because they're trying to establish characters and then drop you into the action so you can just action until the game's over. Like,
yeah,
which is my concern, basically.
I've read a handful of reviews. I've tried to keep myself unspoiled to things, and I'm worried about certain aspects of the game. It does seem like the game is light on story, and it is much more focused on action. And it's worth noting that it's also like it's a cooperation between Machine Games and Arcane, who are the developers of Dishonored and Prey.
Okay.
And that it's much more of like an action game in the Arcane style.
Right. Okay.
Which I don't necessarily have an issue with, but it would be a shame for it to sort of evacuate the plot altogether.
I mean, yeah, totally.
But I'm also trying to keep my sense of things as open as possible, because like people said really dumb things about the new Colossus when it came out and didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that reviews of good art that come out in the week that it was first released tend to be an excellent indicator of what it isn't.
Yeah.
Like nobody can really appreciate something for what it is until they've had time to chew on it. So I'm trying to keep my opinion on Youngblood as open as possible until I've played it for myself. I do wonder about the choice to set it in the 80s and have there still be, Wolfenstein 3 in development that is going to take place presumably like in the late 60s or early 70s that will show more of the Liberation Front, and how much they might have to deal with the classic, like, we already know where these characters are going to end up, the stakes are low. But then I guess after Wolfenstein 2, there's not really much threat of like you can't make Wolfenstein's died Blazkowicz has died so many times at this point that like they can't exactly make his mortality a threat anymore.
Right. It's true.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's important that I'm not terribly like cynical about it, because I have trust that Machine Games have a good idea of what they're doing.
I mean, do you assume Wolfenstein 3 will be about Blazkowicz killing Hitler?
I think that killing Hitler will be incidental.
I'll say, dear God, I hope so, because the way that Hitler is an incidental, sad old man in Wolfenstein 2 is the greatest thing ever. And if he's the main guy to kill in Wolfenstein 3, it will be sad. It'll just be a big letdown.
Yeah. No, I think that there will be a mission to kill Hitler, but that I think I think that will be something that happens fairly early on. I wouldn't even be surprised if Wolfenstein 3 opens with a mission to kill Hitler, and that the rest of it involves like how many more straight up combat encounters can you have against a beheaded military regime.
I mean, they've been beheaded twice. That's kind of one of the best points that Wolfenstein makes about these fascists, is that like they just replace them with another guy every time.
Yeah.
That's why Hitler is just a sad old man, because he's not the. He's not.
Oh yeah, he's not important at all. He's a figurehead.
I mean, I think it would totally own if Wolfenstein 3 opened with a cutscene of him killing Hitler. It just doesn't give a fuck about, like, it does not want you to care about killing the guy, Mr. Adolf is not the point. Like, if it just opened with, the second half of the shot of, like, Blazkowicz shooting Hitler in the face, like, the opening moment was a blood splatter, that would be good, in my opinion.
I'm really sorry. I have to go to the bathroom real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Back.
Bats, you said he was tweaked at the end of the war, wasn't he? Yeah, Hitler was suffering from secondary syphilis, which is like a hard old time, which nowadays we can cure with like penicillin. But yeah, he was shivering and shuddering all over the place. So he was on a lot of meth, because in the 40s and 50s that was their best shot at curing that. Really disappointed Hitler was even in Wolfenstein 2. Honestly, I think that it was good that he was in it the way he was in it. Like, I wouldn't have liked it if he was in it I liked what they did. First game was fucking Mecha Hitler. It would make sense to entirely subvert it, so yeah. 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 So... Oh, that's all we have. Shit. Okay. Oh shit. There's your boy. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. 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 Sneaky sneak. Bum bum ba-da-dum bum 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 bum. Oh, hello. Yes. Okay. No, I want it on, obviously. Jesus. Luke, shoot the Nazi. Use the garden, Luke. He's completely absent for the first game, and for all its flaws, I think that was for the better. I can definitely understand the argument to omit him. That is exactly why I'm saying the thing about the cutscene. Like, I think people will expect killing Hitler to be a part of it, and I think that if they just got it out of the way as fast as possible, that would be the best possible thing they could do, because then it just wouldn't... It would be, again, like a subversion. They just wouldn't have him, basically, like, practically in it at all. Like, that would be good. I've gone the wrong way. I've gone the wrong way. Is there a guy up there? I feel like there must be. Oh, there's a gun up here. I'll tell you that. Okay. Force bullets. Yeah. I'm sure there's some extended universe novel where somebody uses force bullets. In fact, I guarantee it. Well, that's one. German version, he was called Chancellor, and Herr Heller of the latter is pretty hilarious. Yeah, I know. I find it a very strange... I mean, I'm aware about Germany's anti-hate speech laws and stuff. It is a letdown, IMO. Because, like, kind of what's the point? But whatever. Your boy's in there, isn't he? Your boy is in there. So we're gonna go over here. Hey-oh! Oh! Duck down, Blasco. God damn it. Got him. Okay. Oh, there's a marksman rifle here too. That's cool. Handy. Yeah, that's nice. And they all of the I've seen as well. I've seen he's got the mustache removed in the German version, and all the swastikas are gone too. It's all very... I find that all like just really like quite surreal, to be honest. Like surreal to just look at. Like we all know what the game's about, whatever. So feels quite weird to me. Are there any dudes around here? Are there any dudes in this bunker? Hey, I'm looking for dudes. There's one. Okay. Well, that's that. Back to the car. Maybe they figure they've seen him enough. It's an anti-hate speech thing. Like, they just don't want to feature. I love that you can eat food in this for HP. Return to comfortable hot and cold food. Hot food gave more HP. That's funny. I mean, they have a graded food thing here. Like, all the different food is worth different amounts of HP all the way through. It's pretty fun. IMO. Let's switch out to the assault rifle. Shoot some Nazis in the face time. Okay. Good stuff. Shoot those Nazis in the face now. Where's who's doing that? Oh, there he is. Foolish. Excellent. Turm. Turm 2. Achtung, Schimmel. Or is it Schimmel? Need to look out for a sign. There's a sign out here that says about mold. Is it here? No. There's a sign in the tower somewhere that's like well, I mean, kind of foreshadowing, I guess, if you're aware of it. That's like Achtung Schimmel, and Schimmel means mold, and it's just basically it's like because you find out that Seth's been mixing in like mold to destabilize the Uber-concrete, which is pretty fun. I think that's neat. There it is, Achtung Schimmel. Attention, mold. Are we really taking the lift? It's a bad idea. Oh, this is a bad idea. Fuck. Fuck, I fucked up. This is a bad idea. I'm sorry, everyone. I've dishonored my relatives with this shameful gaming display.
Hi, I'm back.
Hey, howdy.
Hi, hello.
Oh, I just got killed.
Oh, well. You know, it happens to the best of us.
Honestly, it was a low-key jump scare.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I was slightly losing the battle anyway, so I'm not just going to exclusively blame on you.
That's fine.
I was just pointing out there's a little sign that says Achtung Schimmel, which means attention mold, in the tower there, which is like foreshadowing.
Yes.
Set, obviously.
Yeah, that's very good.
No. Oh god.
Uh-oh.
I've made foolish decisions. I regret my life choices. Okay.
Oh, the stream is very behind.
Okay.
Dang. You're making me want to play this game. God, this game is so good. I'm gonna have to stream this later. And just be in.
Oh, not again.
About it. Sorry, a friend sent me like a clip for their from their podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
and was asking me for some quick feedback, and had to take a second to do that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I get it.
I have a question for you.
Hit me.
About hashtag content creation.
Oh, okay.
How do you how do you keep doing videos?
Wouldn't you know, Jack Saint asked me the same thing.
Really?
When Jack was over here, he was like complimenting my work ethic, and I was like, work ethic is a capitalist lie.
Sure.
Conceived of to make us all feel bad.
Yeah.
I have like I mean, it's not helpful for me to say this, but like I have like 5 ideas on the go at any given time.
Sure.
Like I don't know how that comes to be, so I'm not sure how to like. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You've been kind of in a like an odd place with making.
I've been in a slump. I guess, like for me, I have a bad habit of, on the one hand, trying to make everything as perfect as possible, which is an impossible feat. And I try to make. And I don't know.
Have you seen videos by What's So Great About That?
Yes.
So she's a friend of mine.
Okay.
Called Grace, and she actually stayed over mine when she was when we went to VidCon. I mean, I didn't go because I didn't have tickets, but like we hung out in the area and stuff, and she went to some panels. But she, I mean, you know, like you see like a creator like her, and she does incredible stuff. Like it's
Absolutely.
10 minutes of like the most highly edited, well scripted thing you've ever seen, and you're just like, oh shit, I guess every frame of painting is back. Like
right,
she's ridiculously good. And she complains to me in messages about like, having to let stuff go, like having to like, put stuff out when she's not happy about it. And she thinks, she knows it could be better, but she, and stuff like this. And steam comes up my ears when she says it, because like, right? And it's like everybody like reaches a point of like, having to quote unquote let it go, and put out the thing, less than perfect or whatever. And it is definitely a skill to like learn to do that more rather than like obsess. And I know as well you just got medicated for ADHD, so I guess that's like a, I can't speak for that experience. Like, yeah,
I was well medicated for a while, and that sort of is associated with the era in the recent past when I was doing some pretty consistently good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then my medications ran out and I had to move, and I was very low on money for a while.
I see.
Now I'm finally back medicated again, and I'm starting to feel the energy again. This is a stupid thing to say. I didn't realize how important my mood stabilizers were until I got back on them.
I've got to say, I think all these new video might be very meaningful to you. Okay. Yeah, but I won't say more than that. Yeah.
When it comes to my ability to judge my own work, the labor of art video, I almost threw it away.
Wow.
When I was working on it, because I was convinced that it was lazy, and that that was an idea that had been on my board for a long time, and I was convinced that I just didn't do the idea justice, because lately I've actually been going without a script.
Right.
For my videos, I have an outline, and I just kind of go, because I have like a teleprompter.
Well, that's very cool in my opinion. I like that.
What? Going off script?
Yeah, like I always go off script in that I try to memorize my lines and then I say them differently to how I've got them written down.
Yeah, I think I'm wanting to find some kind of synthesis. I wish that one thing that I want to try to come up with as a way to like pause the scrolling of my teleprompter without making sound, because right now it's just my keyboard, because I use a website that just has like an automatic prompter.
I follow you, yeah.
And like if I have I'm kind of stuck at the pace that the prompter is going. I go completely off script, or I stick to it completely.
Can I just ask, is there a mouse button way of clicking, like clicking to stop it? Because even better than the sound, the less sound of a mouse button, you can get apps if you have a tablet or phone that make your touch device work as a mouse, a remote mouse, like touchpad mouse, and you can then silently click things, which is an idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the point is, like, that video, I didn't feel like I did the idea justice, and I kind of just assumed that, like, because I've been going off script, like the trade-off for me is when I don't have a script and I just have an outline, I'm not able to, like, because I come from a background of writing fiction.
Okay.
And so my idea of like constructing arguments is very much still. I'm always wanting to make something that is a narrative.
Yeah,
that is also an argument.
I think that's good. That's kind of how I like to construct things.
Yeah.
I don't suppose you've seen my Bloodborne video.
I have.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay.
I've watched most of your videos.
Oh, really?
Except
Wow.
for the ones that I didn't watch because I didn't. There were a handful of cases where it's like, well, I actually care about spoilers. And stuff.
Okay, no, I mean, that's fair. I generally assume with like content creator friends, I just like assume they haven't seen anything, and it's a pleasant surprise if they have seen anything of mine, because like when you all know, when everyone you know as content creators and everyone they know as content creators, like it quickly becomes just so you can't expect that for everyone to have seen everything.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm one of the cases where I've usually seen everyone's. So, yeah. But my Bloodborne video was the first video of mine where I felt like my arguments... So, my Wolfenstein videos were inherently political, obviously.
Yeah.
But I have, since the start of my channel, been doing stuff that's like media, and there's also a political thing I want to kind of get to. And my Bloodborne video was the first video where I had an argument I was trying to get to politically, and and an argument inside of a media analysis, like a sneaky political argument, right, so to speak. I fucked this up so badly. And it was the first of those videos in which I felt... I'm just going to die and start the segment over. This sucks. It was the first of those videos in which I feel I did that well, and there was like flow between my like my sneaky political hot takes and my media analysis. And it was the video... It was also the first video that I despised when I released it. I had never disliked a video like... I'm not going to say at all, because I think there were some shorter videos I maybe disliked, or like kind of I felt a bit numb about or whatever, but it was the first one I felt the worst about it on release, and it was also like kind of not to say objectively, but objectively the best flowing video of that type that I'd done up to that point. And like I even had I had two different friends contact me like the next day and say, this is the best flow, like this is the best you've been able to integrate this kind of idea into this kind of video so far. Why did that... oh shit. And So
that one starts just empty, apparently. Weird.
Yeah, I don't get that. Maybe I have to leave it on the thing. I don't know what's going on there. I'll try and figure it out. It's fine. And my point is just that, like, sorry, I haven't entirely gotten to my point. The reason is that, as well as those two firsts, first video with that kind of good flow, first video that I really hated, it was the first video that I'd worked on for like more than 3 months. I'd been conceptualizing it for. My first like 2 videos, I had the idea of starting a channel for a few months, and they were kind of inside of that or whatever. And I think it gets like fried by the EMP or whatever that is.
Yes,
that's what it is. Happens. That sucks.
Yeah.
And so my first couple of videos, I kind of had a loose idea before I oh shit.
Don't forget your grenades.
Yeah, I'm just gonna die. Shit. I said that as if like that's a plan. It was total fatalism. But the reason I hated it so much was because I'd thought about it too long. And it was so clear to me that I had just thought about it beyond the point where I could be excited anymore. I just felt so sick of this shitty video. I've got to get rid of it. Like, it had already gone through a point, because I wanted to make this point about aggressive readings and death of the author, and like, inserting anti-capitalist critique into things and how that works and stuff. And then halfway through I was like, but people can really read this as well as like an anti-Semitic thing. And I was like, shit, I gotta change the script halfway through to be an entirely different thing. And like, and I was so fucking sick of it. I just hated it so fucking much. And yeah.
I think that's a good observation, that you live with something for too long and you just lose. Like, I kind of infamously at this point, for people who are familiar with any of my shit, promised this big overarching video series on Twin Peaks. And released the first video of that over a year ago at this point.
Right.
And the people who care about it keep asking, like, when's the next one? And I'm like, it's a promise, it's coming.
See, I make the much cleverer thing. I like sneakily hint at my videos. So I had a throwaway line about how I would tell people that Spyro the Dragon was racist, like 6 months before I did that collab with Lily, where I actually censored that question.
Like, my issue tends to be with like.
Jess, if you love Twin Peaks so much, you are aware that we have a Twin Peaks rewatch podcast. We should probably mention that for people who want to watch or listen, rather.
Fish in the Percolator.
Yeah, Fish in the Percolator. You can go to
LunaLightStudio.com.
Perfect. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you can go to. Find it on LunaLightStudio.com and Spotify, and it's currently under approvals on iTunes. It should be up there hopefully by next week. It usually takes them a while to approve of things.
Yes.
But
But you can get it on Spotify, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And also on Twitter at FITPcast. But I'm actually kind of treating the podcast as fuel for me to finally get started working on those videos again.
I figured when you mentioned it, that makes sense.
But like, part of why it took me, I fell off the wagon with those videos is that I got every book about Twin Peaks that I could get my hands on and read every bit of information. And I have a bad habit of trying to get complete knowledge of a subject before I talk about it.
So I think you said this about your stuff, that you argue from emotion.
Yes.
And that's why you try to make yourself an expert, because you know that your argument is coming from emotion. So you want like the facts to back it up.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of not trusting that I'm coming from a place of like where I don't have the authority to talk about something, because
that's interesting.
And like I have a bad habit in general of just biting off more than I can chew, where like I had planned for years to do a series on meta-modernism, and
wow.
Ultimately I did 2 videos in that series, one of which is only available to patrons of mine because I just didn't like it.
Okay.
And it was actually part of why my girlfriend started messaging me before we were dating, obviously. She saw one of those and she's like, I admire what you're trying to do, but it seems a bit like you were trying to eat a cathedral in one bite.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, which is exactly why I stopped it, because it was just too big of a project. And like talking about meta-modernism is such a fraught subject, it doesn't matter. But
yeah, no, it is.
I like, these are things that I want to do, and I also have like a series on the Wachowski sisters that I'm trying to do, but the problem that I'm facing is that I, as a creator, follow very much like my whims, and if I'm not really dug deep into a subject, I have a very hard time making myself do the work and finish the video. So, and a lot of that has to do with having bipolar 2.
Right.
ADHD
okay.
is like, I'm as a creative, I've always been somebody who like follows the whims of my creative energy wherever they take me, and that often leads to abandoned projects and everything.
I completely get that.
And,
yeah.
I get so frustrated with myself because, you know, it's been 3. I did a stream recently where I was editing this video that I shot like last week that's talking about Breath of the Wild, and I was convinced that it was absolutely terrible.
Oh no!
And because it was another one where I did it without a script, and
right.
I was just desperate. Like, I have to record a video. I can't go another month without releasing it.
So
and like, I was just convinced that I did a terrible performance. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, and so I forced myself to edit it live on stream.
Oh right, I was wondering what was going on with that. Yeah.
And the result of that was actually that I was kind of forced to see it from the eyes of an audience, and I realized, actually, no, this is perfectly acceptable. And I got mad at myself for like, how do I psych myself out so much?
So, sorry. One thing about the German in this game is quite funny. Like, I mean, it was made by Swedes. A lot of their stuff is like very funny advertising, because it's like often like simplistic and reductive in what I find a really amusing way. So right next to Blaskovich here, so there's this like, I think it says something like Auto Barista 3000 on the coffee machine here.
Yeah.
And then that just says, so tasty. Like, Riesling Barista 2000. So tasty. I just, that's all. There's a lot of texture in this game that I really love. Anyway, sorry for interrupting about that.
Oh, no. I'm sorry that I've derailed us so thoroughly.
No. I'm not like dying to talk about Wolfenstein. I'm like very happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and I'm actually finding this conversation very good, useful to my creative process, and interesting as well. I think one thing about that, on that thread you were just talking about, is that I got my first tattoo not long ago, and an unexpected thing I noticed as I kind of came closer to having it was that I was feeling like, what I was expecting was to feel a huge amount of doubt and like indecision about like, oh shit, what about putting this thing on my body forever? And it reversed, and it turned into a thing where I was like, no, I'm gonna put this thing on my body forever, that's a good thing that I made that decision. Like, it's a good thing that because I regularly panic and I'm indecisive about things and change up my aesthetic, and every time I've started a new venture and the moment I name it I hate it and things like this, right? The fact that I've made a decision that will be forever, that's good. And that kind of gave me a new perspective on things slightly. I just thought that was
That's interesting.
Yeah. And as to what you were saying about before about, I mean, I said that you'd said it, but it was something you were saying originally about arguing from emotion and trying to make yourself an expert. I think I have the exact same thing because I think I argue from emotion as well. And
I would agree with that from your videos, at least.
Yeah, like when I talk to Jack about my videos or videos I've got planned, I'll be talking about a video I have coming up, and I'll go like, I'm going to be talking about bad movies, except I'm not just going to be talking about bad movies, and he'll like cut me off and like laugh at me because he's like, that's what you do, Eric, is talk about everything. It's never just one thing, and it's like, it's because there's like an emotional truth to what I'm talking about that I want to like get at. I'm
similar in that regard. Like this video that I'm working on about Breath of the Wild, part of how I've made it palatable for myself is that I turn it into an exploration of how capitalist ideology poisons how we enjoy media.
That's really interesting.
And that's the thing that I always want to do is I'm not so much interested in just talking about any one piece of media. One of my most successful videos was a defense of ContraPoints. And like she retweeted that video at a certain point, and like that gave me a huge boost that I will never be able to pay her back for in terms of direct impact on my success as a content creator, I guess. But that video, I didn't want to do it because like I really dislike the culture of replying to different, like, to fellow YouTubers, to people who criticize you, and doing these videos. It's like debunking everybody point by point. I think there's a certain value to it in some places, but generally speaking, it's just not what I'm interested in. And what I found compelling about ContraPoints early on, and like a lot of the sphere of LeftTube, isn't just the rhetorical content, but the fact that they are melding artistic expression with rhetorical content. And of course now you have this entire new generation of creators, us, who are taking that even further. In interesting ways.
The next generation.
But like,
I'm sorry for all the horrible noises. There's like sirens. There's foxes screaming outside my window right now. There's a whole ordeal.
But the thing that I wanted to explore in that video more than anything, and the only reason why I did it, was that it was an opportunity for me to talk about this question I've had of like the difference between criticism and art on YouTube, where you can argue that. I mean, the thing that I'm just restating what I said in that video. You can argue that H-Bomb's Control-Alt-Delete video isn't necessarily the strongest bit of pure criticism, but as an emotional narrative, I guess, it works really, really well. And the standards that we judge our work by and all of this stuff, I don't know. The point is, I try to take everything as an opportunity to talk about something else. like I like to use popular media as a way to get people into less popular media, or
Yes.
just to try to focus on things, like always introduce new ideas and make things into a bigger conversation. Like, yes, we can talk about how inspiring Steven Universe is, but what's much more interesting to me is like the question of why it feels so revolutionary to be sincere, and what that says about the culture that we have.
Empathy is revolutionary. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
yeah, like I
love this
agree
cut, by the way.
completely. Yeah, that was fantastic. I really like that. I agree completely. Going back to my Bloodborne video again, I used this term aggressive reading, and it kind of caught on with a lot of people as basically just a way to say, another way of saying death of the author. But it's kind of a very like visceral and immediately understandable metaphor. Like, you're aggressively reading material. Like, you get what that means. And
Yes,
and like, I've always thought language is like a really powerful thing, and especially in analytical circles, be they political or just artistic. And that's why I've wanted to introduce terms that I find useful. And one of the things is, like, I wish my Nier Automata videos had done more numbers, not just because, like, I like Nier Automata or anything. I said good, like, I analyzed the game well in that, but I introduced a term there, which is like a subtle term, but it's basically like the use of the word red. I talk about one text having read another text, like, as opposed to a person having read a text. And it's like, it takes quite a few sentences to explain what that means, but
Sure.
you understand what it means from just me saying it. I could just say Wolfenstein 2014 has read Half-Life 2, and you would understand the claim I was making, even if you wouldn't necessarily agree with it.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, like, that's the thing. I really wanted those videos to do more numbers, because I really liked the use of that term, and I wanted to introduce it more. And that's kind of the same thing you were just saying. Like, I really want to be expanding the conversation and talking about more stuff. I've got something coming up in my, as I was just mentioning, actually, my bad movies essay for Halloween that I'm doing, in which I talk about a concept of audience responsibility, which, like, I've literally written into the script as, like, we're going to talk about audience responsibility. Yes, you fuckers, I fucking got you. You thought I was going to talk about Neil Breen, and now it's my weird media nerd shit. Let's talk about audience responsibility, because that's literally what the video is about. Like, I want to talk about the concept of audience responsibility, and everything else is like window dressing. I want to talk about the idea that audiences have a responsibility to the thing they're watching, which is a very unpopular opinion in media, that people don't, people have to be like media nerds to kind of get into that discourse, but actually every audience member of any piece of media ever has a strong opinion about that take. Like, it's a, inherently, if I come up to you while you're watching EastEnders, and I go, like, the onus is on you to understand this properly, you're gonna get, like, mad at me because, like, I'm being very aggressive at you with that. Like,
well, I think, like,
or you agree with me and you go, you're right, and it's not up to the piece of media to it's not entirely up to the piece of media to communicate well what it's trying to get across. Yeah,
I mean, Natalie, I think, faces that a lot, where people tend to aggressively misread her quite a bit. And I think that there are good reasons for why that is sometimes.
So, I mean, in all fairness, she is employing a perverted version of the Socratic dialogue, in which she uses the quote-unquote, like, loser of the dialogue to get across the ideas that she is actually in favor of. Which, like, as people are familiar with the Socratic dialogue, or just the way you'd naturally read a Socratic dialogue, it's, you could understand why people misunderstand her.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't want to dismiss criticisms of her beyond the fact that it does sometimes feel to me like folks are deliberately refusing to accept the possibility that she is acting in good faith.
Don't worry. I think we feel exactly the same way about the cancel points crowd.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry.
We don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to. Yeah. But yeah, like, to me, I'm trying to think of another, like, media, like another thing that had that, because the idea of like audience responsibility is something that was on my mind recently. But there's.
Sorry, one thing in the chat here, Tony's just said, "Have I read myself?" And I would say, you can never have read yourself, and by definition, you have.
That's a good way to put it. Absolutely.
But yeah, I love the little knife flicks Blazkowicz does. He's such a fucking show off. Little like yeah. Sorry, please carry on.
No. I'm going all over the place. I think like there's the Darren Aronofsky movie The Fountain from over 10 years ago now. It used to be my favorite movie. I haven't watched it in ages. It's begging for like a Criterion release or something.
Right.
It's one of those movies that a lot of people misunderstand. Actually, no. The better recent example is Annihilation, and Dan Olsen did a video about that.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
That folks were trying to figure out, like, what does it mean? When really all you got to do is just read that movie, and what it means is self-evident. It's just that we kind of have a hard time culturally talking about subtext,
right,
and like symbolism. So
I have a thing. I have something here. That
please
kind
save
of
me from myself.
Honestly, Sarah, you like the stuff you're saying is really interesting, and it's way more consistent than you seem to think it is. Honestly,
Okay.
that thing about like let's just call it this. Like, unfortunately for what this means for our channels, YouTube media criticism is like these people like who just want to talk about a theory, a game theory, and don't care about the media. The fact that media is made by people for a reason. You know, these dinguses. Okay. We all have the same take about these guys, I think, you know. And when I say we all, I mean you, me, Big Joel, Dan Olsen. We all have the same take. And I think a positive thing that you can say is that these guys actually give you a really good example of when a media has really done its job well. Because if these guys are doing their theory, a game theory, then and it has implications on the theme and like subtext of the work, then like the media is a very powerful piece. Okay, so my example on that would be Evangelion, because the popular meme Shinji doesn't want to pilot the Eva is the point of the thing, of the, like, you know, Shinji refusing to pilot this giant body that everyone wants him to, you know, pilot for their own reasons, whatever they be, and most of the time that he does it, it's because the world will literally end if he doesn't, and that's too much responsibility to put on a child, but it just has to happen. It's a metaphor for like adulthood and like, you know, learning to pilot this big body and the responsibilities that are on you. And the ultimate message is like that Shinji should only have to pilot the Eva when he chooses to, even if there are bigger responsibilities on him than that. And like when people like game theorize about that and do like fanfic, like, you know, little fan theories about it, they're actually still have like big implications for the meaning, like that meaning, like whether or not Shinji pilots the Ava, you know, as a meme, still has like implications on the theme of like adulthood and stuff. And I would just say, you know, I'm not sure this point goes somewhere, but I would say that does show you that the media did quite a good job of like creating a powerful metaphor, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm not sure that goes anywhere, so I don't know if you'll have a response point, but like, I do think that's interesting. Like,
yeah. Hey, in the chat is going to sleep.
Oh, thanks for stopping by, Lindsay. That's yeah. You have a good night. Oh, it's so hot here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep when I have to sleep.
Yeah. I gained a new respect this time last year when I was in Italy. I was at the end of my little semester abroad. I stayed in Bologna for a few days.
Oh yeah.
And that was like, it was so hot the entire time.
Gosh.
Because I've lived in the South in the States my entire life, so like
yeah, you
Texas,
were saying
Oklahoma, basically.
Yeah.
And I have never in my life lived in a place without central air, because it's literally unlivable here and always has been.
Right, of course,
it.
yeah.
So it is really easy for me, and I think a lot of people who live in this region, to forget that there are places where that literally aren't designed for like AC and like don't have it at all. And that gave me a new
Blaskovich giving Mr. Clean a swirly right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I did want to say about is that LTAS? Yeah, this is me. It's Sarah Zedig. It's hi. Sarah Zedig is whomst is on the line. But
yeah, tell me about Central Air. Carry on.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to point out an observation about Wolfenstein really quick.
Do it.
It strikes me that beyond the first mission being a pretty typical assault on a military base, the second mission is in a hospital that's being attacked by Nazis, and then this mission is you doing like breaking into a prison and breaking people out. And it's interesting that it never occurred to me. Like the fact that this is a state prison. I don't know. There are interesting questions that are raised by that. That like there is like an implicit delegitimification. That's a fucking mouthful of
yes
of the prison system going on here.
I agree.
There's an inherent like when the prisons are run by Nazis, obviously they're being used for political purposes. Maybe that's what prisons are.
Yeah, totally, I agree. I mean, Mia's excellent video on what is or isn't a concentration camp recently was fantastic, and she just
I still need to watch it.
So she essentially, like, the point that's relevant to our conversation here is she went, and based on that definition, you might, you know, say, but hey, there's a problem with your definition there. That would mean all of the U.S. prison system is concentration camps.
Yeah.
Like,
oh god. Yeah. Tasty. Good stuff.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I like in my McElroy video, I have a random aside fairly early on where I say, capitalism, I think we can all agree, is bad and should be abolished. And I got a number of people in the comments like, don't you put words in my mouth.
I just love that at the end you're just like, so their politics is based on everyone being included and everyone's cared for. That's communism. We did it, guys. We did. Like, that was my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I was whooping. That was great.
God, a lot of people really like that bit. I'm pretty proud of that video. That's one of the very few times where a video that I put a lot of work into and like actually thought it was pretty good was successful.
Right.
It's usually like the one, like, you know, I spend months thinking about these topics and building videos and perfecting as much as possible, and the what they'll get, a couple thousand views at best, and then I did my response to the defense of ContraPoints, like conceived of and edited over the course of a weekend.
Wow.
And that one was the first video of mine to break 100,000 views.
Wow.
And it was so frustrating to me because there's so much that I disagree with in that video already, because it's like, no, I didn't think this through. I didn't spend the time. It's fine. And the lesson I should have learned is like, just do it. Who cares? I tend to not think of YouTube as a disposable medium, but all art is disposable, and I gotta fucking internalize that.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway, what? Yeah, statistically, that's the first vid most people watched of mine.
That's cool.
I don't know.
Statistically, the first bit people watched of mine, I think, is the Sargon of Akkad one.
Yeah, probably.
Or my collab in Jack Saint's NPC game.
Yeah.
Those tend to be the ones. My subscriber, like, I don't know, I was at like 1,200 and went up to like 1,800 when I when I collabed with Jack Saint. So like at the time it was a third of all my subscribers.
Wow. Yeah.
Which was quite funny.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird how these things happen. Like, I've before my ContraPoints video, I had, I think, like 800 subscribers.
Wow.
And then over the course of 2 weeks, it went up to like 8,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it happened really fast, and I'm still like, this is part of why I'm the neurotic mess that I am. Is that I did not have a gradual growth whatsoever. I basically had two sort of dumb luck breaks that shot me way up, and now I'm like paranoid about like, is every step I'm making the wrong one? Yeah.
I can see why that would genuinely be like. I mean, I guess like shot up more or less from like 1,000 to 5,000 over not a very long period of time, but I've been floating about 5,000 for the last few months, to be honest. So passing 6,000 after releasing my BPD vid was pretty cool, especially because it wasn't shared by anyone who it's not usually shared by. Like my vids aren't usually shared by. Like I get a fairly regular share off like Peter Coffin or Jack or whoever. Sure. So it was quite interesting to like it effectively was like, this video is getting a lot of traction because like kind of word of mouth, people are really liking it, basically, which is cool. That's a cool thing to see happen.
Yeah. It's a good video.
Thank you. I'm considering a follow-up at some point, not just because this one's done numbers or whatever. I don't tend to really work that way at all.
Sure.
But because specifically because I have hints in that video about what a shithead M. Night Shyamalan is, specifically regarding the topic of mental health and representation of mental health in movies, and I just I wink at that idea in that video, and I've had this kind of urge to go back and do a video that's like proper screaming rage at at all the people who make horror movies where the bad guy, or not even the bad guy, just the monster, is a person with a mental health, with a mental illness. Like, I find that stuff so deeply fucked. And M. Night Shyamalan, there was I don't know if you remember the bit where I go, it wouldn't be ridiculous to say these people. Is everybody fucking dead? Oh, cripes. These people. It was a bit where I go, it wouldn't really rock the boat to say that the representation of dissociative identity disorder is not good, or schizophrenia is not good. And then I cut close and I go, it wouldn't even rock the boat to say it's appalling dog shit. And like my first draft of the script, I went into just a very long, angry like bit during that bit where I was like, it's appalling dog shit and the people who do it should be fucking ashamed of themselves, and M. Night Shyamalan should be run out of Hollywood with literal torches and pitchforks. And I went on this long thing and I was like, I'm trying to be kind of wholesome and nice in this video, like be good for people with the beeper deeps. I don't want to be,
Sure.
But I kind of still have this feeling where I'm like, no, but I can't, but I might though, because people with dissociative identity disorder are often abused as children, so it's insanely fucked to have a movie where a guy is a paedophile molester guy because of one of his split personality identities. Oh, you little shit, I fucking hate you so much, god damn it. I get so worked up. It's like, people with mental illnesses are more likely to be attacked than they are to attack anyone by like a ridiculous astronomical fucking degree. You can't, god damn it, M. Night, if that is your real name.
Right.
Like,
oh my gosh, yeah. I'll be interested to see that, because another YouTuber, Grandpa Glasses, I don't know if you
I know Grandpa Glasses.
Yeah, he is a strident defender of M. Night Shyamalan. And,
incorrectly. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's the bad take.
So I'd be curious to see the comparisons between y'all's takes.
Like, I don't have a problem with like whatever the fuck, like Signs or something. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't, like, I don't have a problem with like The Twist. Like, people making fun of like M. Night Shyamalan for like always having a twist or whatever, like this. I think that's a silly take, but specifically, like, you can't argue that his representation of people with mental health problems is appalling dog shit, and he should actually be ashamed of himself. And if you are arguing against that, you're on the wrong side, and you should be ashamed too.
Fair enough.
But like, I don't really think people are going to disagree with me. Especially, I mean, Grandpa Glasses seems very nice. I doubt that they would be like kind of arguing, being like, no, his representation of split personality disorder is of dissociative identity disorder is fucking great. It's really positive. That's I highly doubt that one.
I think he has actually defended certain aspects of it with me, but I don't know. I can't. I'm not going to represent his arguments. Cause
no, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's also not just M. Night, to be fair. Like, what I've conceived of in doing this follow-up video is like just going over a whole bunch of examples where people are just absurdly terrible. It's just that he's kind of my straw man of like, the bad guy I need to refer to the most to point out what an appalling situation we're in.
Yeah. I get really frustrated with just since you brought up like The Twist and that as a common criticism. I get really frustrated with people who insist on leaving their criticism at these really kind of obvious and boring talking points. One of the things that gets brought up whenever J.J. Abrams is in the conversation is the mystery box.
Right.
And people say that the mystery box is an inherently bad storytelling technique. And
okay, yeah. Like, I think that whenever we're talking about like inherently bad in art, we're getting in like murky waters, in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
I think that we should be able. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's okay. And people, I have strong feelings about the mystery box, in part because I'm a lifelong defender of the TV show Lost.
Right.
And that's a show that everybody talks about in the same breath as J.J. Abrams, even though J.J. Abrams had almost nothing to do with the show in the long term.
Right.
And they say then there's the fact that the concept of the mystery box comes from a TED talk that JJ gave, where he talks about like a box that he had that he didn't like it was like a FedEx box that he had that he didn't. It's actually 6 seasons tier, not 5. Sorry, and they ended on their own terms. They weren't canceled.
I'm just realizing how much muzzle flash there is in this game, and I just want to say if anybody has like epilepsy or epileptic adjacent conditions, feel free to like jump out of the stream. I don't want to subject anyone to like stuff that will make them feel queasy or worse. I just wanted to say, because I didn't realize how like I kind of don't notice it, and then I just looked at it back on my Twitch on the Twitch playback just now, and I was like, oh shit, that's really bad.
But yeah, like the concept of the mystery box is like JJ had this FedEx box that he didn't know where it came from, or that's weird. Where
did you see the dog?
Like who it was from or what was in it, and he found the fact like he never wanted to open it because he like the question of what was in the box was always more interesting than what would ever be in the box.
Right.
And he equates that to like telling stories. And people bring this up as like, okay, so this is proof positive that he doesn't know the answers to any of the questions that he brings up, and all of these like plot stingers and big like what's this mystery? None of it matters because he doesn't know the answer.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Such a short-sighted thing. And
first off,
because, what he's doing is that is just a basic storytelling technique. All he's saying is, you ask a question, and inherently, from a psychological perspective, the question is more interesting than the answer.
Yes.
It's the same reason you don't show the monster too early in a monster movie.
Yes. Hard agree. That's a really good point. It's like, in Pulp Fiction, the MacGuffin is such a MacGuffin because it doesn't matter what's in there. Yeah. We want to tell some stories around a briefcase. Don't open it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think people say that and I think everybody is guilty of this at times. Whenever there is a popular criticism of something that they agree with, but they haven't necessarily thought about.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, totally.
Themselves, they tend to, repeat that a little bit.
Yes, that's why I asked you earlier about the level design of New Colossus, because I just wanted to know if like you knew the secret flaw that no one was telling me, because I've gotten into like arguments with like I don't know, like Natalie's teenage brother or whatever, about like yes, but what's wrong with the level design, like kind of thing. I tweeted out a thread the other day that was not about Lost, but it was about Lost. But I haven't seen Lost, so that's why I say it wasn't about Lost. But Lindsay Ellis, in her video about Game of Thrones, used Lost as an example of why, and this is what I was thinking of when I said about inherent bad things, why not knowing where you're going as you write the story is an inherently bad thing. And I just wanted to question the idea that changing your story halfway through was an inherently bad thing, because I don't think it is. And I think that's an interesting concept that I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, and it ties in kind of with the like auteur theory, with the idea that someone's like going along with this like grand plan, and you really want like some cishet white dude who's a genius to like feed you beautiful art, and it's like okay, but like maybe there's more to the situation than that. Okay, but maybe their art itself relies on surprise. So maybe actually a twist is actually the point of the piece of art. Like, it matters that you are surprised, and when they see that someone on Reddit has guessed the twist, they literally have to change it, or the point of the show is ruined. I'm not saying that's the case in Game of Thrones, It's not. Like, but I do just, to be the needless contrarian, I like to question the idea that it's inherently bad to change what you're doing halfway through. Like, I do things like, okay, so when we produced Alt-Right Date Night, okay, there is a shot in there in between, like, it's in between scenes where I talk to my friend Jan in the supermarket as if I'm playing Paul Joseph Watson. Paul Joseph Watson talks to a stranger in the supermarket, tries to convince him that deodorant is unnecessary because cavemen have natural scents only, and gets like given a weird look and then shuffles off and carries on listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, right? That's the first scene. The second scene is Paul is browsing OkCupid alone late at night and then gets pulled into his laptop and talked to by this, the spirit of Valentine's Day, past, present, and future, whatever. In between those two scenes, there's a shot of a shopping trolley upside down in a pond that we spotted on the day when we were in the park and just got footage of because we thought it was interesting, and I put it in there, and it ties the two scenes together so well, like, because in the first scene there's a progression, right, which is like, I'm sorry to talk about my own stuff in this level where it sounds like I'm really blowing my own horn, but like I'm trying to talk it through from the perspective of a filmmaker, because that's where I think it's useful to look at this thing. In the first scene, I'm in the supermarket. Oh, sorry, I'll stick to Paul Joseph Watson is in the supermarket. Well, the character's called Joe Wyatt Paulson. Joe is in the supermarket, okay? And he's listening to Dave Rubin on Joe Rogan's podcast. And he gets a text from the girl he was on a date with last night, the alt-right YouTuber he was on a date with, that he had a weird disconnect with. And at first on the date he thought that she wasn't interested in him, but now she's texting him and she's interested, but he ignores the text, right?
Yeah.
The next thing he does is go and try to talk to a man, because what he really needs is male friendship more than anything, desperately. And the man is like, okay. And that's the only line that character has in the whole thing. He just says, okay. Because he's weirded out by Joe. Joe's a weird dude who's just approached him in the supermarket to tell him not to buy deodorant. And then on the way out of the supermarket, Joe looks at a shiny golden pineapple hand soap dispenser, which is very like opulent and lavish, and is exactly the kind of thing that Paul Joseph Watson thinks that men shouldn't own because it's gay as shit, right? Because it's fucking gay, so real men wouldn't buy one. And he gives it this like disparaging look. And the next thing you see is the upside down shopping trolley. Now, maybe to one viewer this would have the implication that Joe just dumped his trolley in the pond. That would be a bit of a silly interpretation. That's not who this character is if you know anything about Paul Joseph Watson. But, fine. It's also a valid interpretation. But also, it represents two things to me. One, it represents what Paul Joseph Watson thinks is wrong in society, i.e., like hoodlum teens who are just trashing shopping trolleys and wrecking the place up, right? And the second thing it represents is what I think is wrong, i.e., a lack of people who, care about their communities, like their local communities, and about fixing things. I don't see the problem as the teen who put it there. I see the problem as the fact it's still there. No one's come and fixed this problem yet. Like, no one's funding like park preservation, so there's not like a guy who's been paid to come and clean this up, and there's not like concerned citizens who want their park to look nice, so nobody's reported it to that guy if he does exist, and so on and so forth like this. I think like social cohesion is the issue, not specific like bad actors or whatever. And that's what I like about that shot. And what you'll notice is that I just said a whole bunch of shit about that shot that I also admit we filmed by accident on the fly, just because we were in the park and we saw it. And that's something I think is a really interesting thing. You know, this is again on the media nerd scale of like audience responsibility, is artistic justification. Like not just like knowing what your overall picture is, but being able to just do something and just chuck it in and go, I guess it means this. Like, knowing that it has to do with your themes, right? Like, and that's why you're including it, is kind of like the difference between like a masterful filmmaker and like, you know, Neil Breen, Tommy Wiseau, Godfrey Ho, Ed Wood, whatever, right? These guys have like a conception of how their shots should roughly look, and they might be they might be shooting to a shot list even, and have some professionals who are like well trained, but they just kind of get roughly the thing, and then it goes into the edit, and then it comes out as this weird garbage. And like, by contrast, a good filmmaker should have an idea of what the themes are, both in terms of the narrative, the you know, the core of the film, and just like stylistically. And if they have a good idea of what those core themes are, they should be able to justify things stylistically that have just been like thrown at them. There's a thing about Ed Wood that's shown in the, you know, the Ed Wood film by Tim Burton, which is like that he used stock footage, essentially, like footage that was just left lying around that the studio had, and he used that in his films. Like, it would be okay to do that if there was like a point. Like, it would be okay to like include stock footage if there was, you know, if like part of
Don't forget your shotgun. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't changed weapon in forever. Okay, here we go. If there was like a point to your film that was to do with like hyper-produced media that was too glossy and didn't feel right and didn't feel real, just chucking in stock footage would be great. It would be a really clever move, you know?
Yeah.
There are like artistic justifications for doing stuff, and it's not just inherently bad to just like mess around and just like change stuff up at the last conceivable minute, as long as it applies to the theme of the art that you're like, you know, it fits into like with the thing that you're trying to make. Like, that's what I'm trying to get at with the word justification, because it's just like it's about that post hoc justification of stuff, because like I just think people view that as inherently bad, and it's not bad to like justify stuff after the fact. Like, it's, as long as it is a solid justification and it actually makes sense. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think the idea that I think a lot of that criticism comes from people who have no idea how to tell a story or haven't done it before. Because at what point do you have the vision, like the total vision of the story you're trying to tell, where it's like, this is what's planned and nothing else can happen?
Right.
So much of what television is based on having to deal with like the unpredictable. A lot of Lost problems came up with the fact that like there are actors whose characters were planned to be really important parts of the story, but the actors hated working in Hawaii, so they got written off the show.
Right.
And there's stuff like that just happens. But I think also, I tend to think of television as the first draft of a book, where I've written like fiction books, and for me, I'm always making shit up as I go along.
Yeah.
And I come up with ideas as I go, and figure things out as I go along. And then it's in the editing that you make it feel holistic. And people who read the final version have the mistaken perception that this thing that they're reading, like, they know that it's been edited, but they have the perception that that is the form that it always had. And like maybe their idea of it's been edited only means that it's like it's been grammar checked, as opposed to had entire sections like rethought or shuffled around. Like television fundamentally, totally. In terms of the long-term overarching story, only gets the one shot. And I think also, like, in terms of talking about improvising with our own stuff, my transitioning video,
right?
Which I think you said you've watched.
Like I say, I've watched most of your stuff.
Okay, that video is almost entirely improvised.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yeah, you sending off to May and asking her to just like film stuff that like made her like expressed a feeling.
Well, so yeah, I mean, like it's the amount of the stuff in that video that is improvised is almost comical to me. Like that entire section, I basically part of it is that the video was made for a class, or at least like it was designed to be to fulfill a need for a filmmaking class. And it was a cultural media making, and it involved having a cultural collaborator. But
okay.
I basically I had a 2-hour long conversation with her where we talked about some really serious stuff, and I asked her after we were done talking to film herself and her environment in whatever way she felt like reflected her mood after our conversation.
Right.
And so everything of hers that is in that video is pulled from everything she says is pulled from that conversation, and all of the footage that she has is stuff that she gave me that she filmed immediately after that conversation. And none of that was planned. I just found what felt right to me, and I spent literally hundreds of hours editing that entire thing.
Wow.
But literally the only part that's scripted is the intro section, and I explicitly made it. I wanted it to be boring because I have a thing for stories that. One of my favorite filmmakers is Chantal Akerman, who is a Belgian filmmaker from the 70s, who made one of her most well-known works is Jean Dielman, which is just a portrait of a housewife. It's 3 hours long, and it's just her cooking and cleaning and going about her day, and it's all real time and very mundane and very boring.
Nice.
And I love art like that because I won't go into it. I'm getting off topic, but that one part was scripted, and it was intended to be boring because I wanted the people who this video wasn't for to leave. And
right.
And then everything after that, part of why it took me so long to finish the video is that I had a lot of other stuff scripted, and I had this whole outline, and everything I shot for it didn't work. Right. And I finally realized that the stuff that was working was the stuff that I did with May, and part of why is because it was all coming from the soul, I guess. So
gotcha. Everything
else, I set up a shot and I had an idea, and I ranted at the camera. With I just had a page of this is what this section is generally about, and I would just talk for an hour or more, and then I cut the 5-10 minute sections together from those.
That's
then the one that's the most buck wild to me to think about is the second to last section. That is the knife scene, confrontation with myself, like the other Sarah, the bad Sarah. I was drunk one night, and I was feeling bad about not getting work done, and I basically, like, I set up my room to shoot bad Sarah's part of that conversation,
right,
where she's just, you know, being a bitch, and I didn't have a script. I didn't know anything. I literally improvised an entire, just the whole thing without having written a goddamn word, and I didn't have the other side of that conversation.
Wow.
And I went for like 45 minutes of just saying things based on a feeling, and then I winnowed out, like, the full version of that conversation is like 15 minutes, and I cut it way, way, way down. But I basically winnowed out from there, like, the bits that, like, what the flow of that conversation was, and then I designed my responses to it around that. Like,
right.
That is not how you're supposed to write a dialogue scene. And it was literally just like, this is the only way that I can do work on this video because my brain doesn't work.
I completely relate to that.
But I mean, I bring all of that up as like further. The idea that I had, if that video feels like it makes any kind of sense whatsoever, it's because throughout that process, I knew that there was a heart to it, like, and I understood it. I knew the feeling that I was going for, and I was just following. I was following my instincts the whole time. And storytelling is like that. It's about following your instincts, and it's not rational. It's not based. It's rarely based on, like, planning and intellectual understanding of stories.
Honestly, I have a video coming up called "Why Nietzsche Sucks" or "The Aesthetics of Intellectualism," and I hope to illustrate in it exactly why I despise anyone who values being rational. Like, it's just not the. I don't care for rational very much. Like, I think that's all great. Like what you're saying there.
I 100% agree about the enshrinement of rationality as a be all end all of how to judge one's worth in a conversation, or whether anything you have to say is worth hearing.
Yeah.
If you're Bat says, but Eric, if you're irrational, you're an insect.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Bats has been very in on this discourse, by the way. I feel I should say, like, Bats has been messaging me about it a lot. About yesterday specifically, I mean. But yeah, like, I really hate that feels over, like, well, not even I hate the position feels over real. I hate the position the framing feels versus reals.
Yes.
I hate the existence of this idea of like logic is how we, like, communicate ideas, I guess. And feelings is the positions we have about things. Like, Ben Shapiro, hates women.
Yeah.
And that's his position. And I won't elaborate on that because it's just the truth. Sure. He hates women, and then he he justifies things using logic. But that's how everyone does things. So for him to claim that people who are opposing his logic with their logic are just talking about feelings and they don't care about facts is the most absurd thing conceivable to me. I can't think of a more absurd thing, because, like, no, he has a feeling that abortion is icky or whatever. He has a feeling that women being able to make choices about their bodily autonomy repulses him, and he backs it up with his logic, and then we answer with our logic, and then he goes, but that's just like your feelings, man. And and we all get really mad because that's an infuriating fucking thing to say. And then he goes, "See, I'm right. They're just all about emotions."
Yeah, and the underappreciated side of that is that, of course, he's that there was a folder in the room you were just in that you're wanting to make.
Oh shit! I completely forgot. No. It's okay. I've just completely. It's been too long since I played this, and I've completely forgotten like where everything is.
Yeah.
Is it in this room?
No, it's upstairs.
Oh shit! My bad.
The door that you opened. That.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But the thing that gets kind of overlooked in those conversations of like the feels versus reals, like it's all the way upstairs.
No, I'm going. It's okay.
Okay. Which Castlevania is this? This is
the knives box. I love the knives box.
The knives box is good. Practicing throwing knives.
Oh, and I can go over here to have a nightmare about being in Wolfenstein. It's so good.
It's very good.
This game owns.
But the thing is, like, they talk about rationality as if there is a agreed upon factual.
Sorry, so did I get it now? What am I missing here?
Yeah, you've got it.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
You want to take it.
Streaming is a trip.
Streaming is something else. For sure. I believe you've got it. You've got. The folder is in. Max's room, and you've got.
That's what I
thought.
Okay, cool. I thought it was in Max's room, and I just couldn't remember how I got to that step.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, like there is in agreeing with any conversation about like feels over reals or whatever, you're taking on the assumption that there is an agreed upon rationality that is based on a political or moral position, when the fact is that like rationality beyond, if you're just looking at like the scientific method, I guess, isn't it's not like it's not consistent. It is. What is rational depends on what you believe.
And then in the scientific method, there are still two affecting things, right? One is top down and one is bottom up. So, sorry, I just ate like a toffee.
Unforgivable.
So one is top down and one is bottom up. The bottom up one is people's experiences are their feelings and they are subjective. And people's lived experiences are the only way you can collect data on anything. But like specifically, you know, if you're going to talk about psychology, sociology, and that's exactly why they get written off as like soft sciences, is because people, these absolute losers, like, know that you can only get data for this science using people's subjective experiences and feelings. And the top-down version is people's feelings add up to a thing called votes, which does a thing called electing like people into office, and those people have say over what science gets done. Like, yes, they get to decide what science gets done. So actually, feels and reals have an inherent relationship that you can't just be like, you know. But I did want to say one thing, and I keep on forgetting to say it, so I just want to, sorry for derailing, but I just wanted to say, when we were talking about before, about arguing from emotion and the commonality between our videos and our argument styles, I wanted to point out what I consider to be the main difference, which is that when you want to make yourself an expert in something, I have kind of the opposite reaction, where I feel like I can never do enough research, and so I give up before I start with research. So when it comes to a topic, I will research the things that I'm interested in, and I will check that the stuff I'm talking about is correct or whatever, but like, I don't go to try and make myself an expert on something. Instead, I explain where I come from. Like, I explain my bias. Like, I like to talk about what my bias is, and like what what shapes my view of like the thing I'm discussing. So my next video is on anime, and I'm making a big point about being someone who has seen what are considered like the essential childhood animes, and then not really watched much anime for a long time.
Yeah.
And then watched like 24 series in the last 2 months as purposeful research for this thing to understand like that's an example of research in a way, but like the point is that my video is from the perspective of someone who is an outsider coming in. That's the whole point. And in how do I get in through this rubble? Here we go. And in, for example, like something like my Coyote Peterson. Sorry, I always refer to it as my Coyote Peterson video, and everyone knows it as the Sargon video. But I just think of it as the Coyote Peterson one because that's what it's primarily about.
Yeah, it's very good.
But in that one, for example, I don't care to debunk any of the things Carl says. I didn't go over like the conversation we had and like retrospectively debunk so I could win the argument. I just talk about my experience of the argument and what he's doing, which so I like to do two things there. And one, I mean, speaking again of like top down and bottom up, one thing I like to do is like, I guess I'd think of it as bottom as, oh no, I guess maybe that doesn't work in this instance. But like, so one thing I like to do is talk about my experiences and where I'm coming from. Now I've lost my way again. What am I doing? Streaming is hard.
Yes.
People should pity gamers like me. That's the thing. Being a gamer is so hard. Maybe I just jump over Doggo. That's not it.
No, it's it'll be. You basically have to find a different way through.
That's what I thought. I run away.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I like to do is go to like the most like ground level philosophical basics I can think of. So I really like to engage in like just the like most like ground level stuff I can, rather than trying to debate the specifics about a piece of media and learning about like who made it and the like details of its creation and stuff. I much prefer to sort of take the route, kind of like Big Joel does, the route of just like let's hypothesize there is a piece of media called Lubin Schluben and it's the most Nazi piece of media ever made and stuff like that. Those are the kind of arguments I love to make. That's exactly why I want to talk about audience responsibility in the bad movies thing, because exactly like that, I want to go, let's suppose there is a piece of media that is bad, but like how can we enjoy it if it's bad? Well, by the audience doing some work. Like that's what's going on there. Like, that's what I like to talk about. It's I
like how Ian Danskin does it, where he abstracts groups, like he abstracts people to rhetorical strategies.
Yeah.
Where it's a similar thing, but I think it's maybe a little bit less flippant than the Lubin Schluben thing. Of like, you're saying, say you're talking to your such and such friend, your libertarian friend.
Yeah.
And
I love that stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
I do. Somebody said, it's probably Tia, that Lubin Schluben is the single most important thought experiment of the 21st century, and I do agree. I just love Lubin Schluben. I just think it's so important. Like, I just think about it constantly. It's like the most important media thing in my life.
Yeah.
I adore it.
It's very good.
Yeah. Or like, okay, so you know what? I'm just going to pause the game for a second, and I'm going to read. I'm going to literally read you something that I have in my notes right now for my anime video.
Excellent.
Because this is like, so this is probably where I'm going to be when I'm going to be getting to kind of the core of my arguments in the anime video. But basically, I wrote this out as a message to someone on my Discord the other day, and I just sort of copied it across into my things. So this is the kind of argument I like to make, rather than like whatever other kind of style of argument. I like to just get to this kind of abstracted point, right? I think there's very little value in saying things like Japanese media is usually sexist, racist, homophobic, rather than saying this piece of media has these problems, or saying here are the ways in which sexism, racism, homophobia creeps into media and causes problems. It's unhelpful and divisive to say Japanese media as if Japan is the problem and we're better than them. It lets us off the hook. If you were to make an observation that was along the lines of the problematic nature of American media centers around tacitly supporting modern white supremacy, whereas the nature of British media propagates racism through historical revisionism around the empire and colonial history, then I'd be like, hell yeah, that's a useful comparison. I fucking love it. However, the other half of the sentence, Japanese media is usually sexist, is, and Western media is not. Worse than that, realistically, the sentence is, Japanese media is usually sexist, and normal media is not. Going back to my America-Britain comparison, one of the ways Britain gets away with shit is by erasing colonial history and simultaneously pointing to America as the more racist example. And I think that's a useless thing to say. America is really racist without comparison. Even if we'd all agree, and to be honest, I think we would, that America is really racist. So that's the chunk I've got in my... That's like the most written bit of my anime essay right now. And that's the kind of argument I like to get down to. Like...
Yes.
Like, we're not... At that point, I'm not talking about the media. I'm not even talking about, like, the form of media. I'm talking about the arguments that people make about the media and why they are wrong. And like,
yes.
So yeah, like, you know, I've also got another bit that's fairly like formed at this point, which is to do with like arguing that anime, it is incorrect to call anime Japanese animation, and therefore anime is bigger. Sorry, hang on. So Japanese animation is bigger than a genre. Like, way bigger. But you could even argue that anime is not just Japanese animation, because there are Westerners who copy quote-unquote anime styles, and what do you call that, like, those pieces of media? And there are also Japanese people who copy Western styles in their animation, and would you then not call that anime? Because you're trying to single anime out as a stylistic thing. There's a point to it. So, like, there's an argument to be made there, but even if you don't make that argument, anime is way bigger than a genre. Arguably, we're just talking about all animated media, and therefore we're talking about a form of media. And then I go on to, like, you know, talk about kind of the dimensions that different forms of media have, and how, like, they're not inherently culturally biased. They're just like the dimensions of a medium. So, for example, comic books have a visual dimension and a textual dimension, whereby you can hear internal monologues, you can hear narration by the author, you can hear, you know, like just factual like snippets from like newspapers and stuff, but you can also have dialogue, and then you also have visuals, and that makes it, like, in some ways superior to TV or film, but in other ways, like, not as good. Obviously, it doesn't have, like, moving pictures, and it doesn't have sound. Those those are their own things. But, like, you know, for example, I went to see a play that was like a Jeeves and Wooster play, and as opposed to the TV show, which has Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, where they just act out the stories that are told in the books, right? That loses something from the books. In the books, you are reading Bertie Wooster's account of what happened, right? And that's funny because he's a toff and a dickhead, and he can't dress himself without a butler. Like, literally, he can't tie his shoelaces. He's a nitwit. He's a fool. So you lose something when you watch a show where Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie just do the story. Like, Bertie Wooster's still a fool. Jeeves still has all the answers, and prays when Aunt Agatha dies, so that he can quietly kill Bertie Wooster, take his identity, and retire to the Caribbean. But you don't have the narration of the character, which introduces a whole comic element. And I saw a play where Stephen Mangan, the perfect casting of Bertie Wooster, couldn't be better, narrates to the audience a story that he lived through, as Jeeves and another butler play every other character in the story, and Bertie Wooster is constantly astonished at the effort that Jeeves has put into building the sets and scripting the play for him. And between those three pieces of media, right, the film, the TV show, the book, and the theatre production, you're dealing with entirely different versions of the same stories, but they all have their own unique, excellent things to about them. And so when you can see so clearly that different forms of media each have their own different strengths, we can't just be well, anime, whatever that means, is just cursed and bad, because it's just it just is. It's more appropriate to just say anime is than anything else. Anime just is.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I don't understand a lot of the the anime was a mistake crowd.
Because it's got creepy bits in it, I guess.
Well, sure, but so does all media.
Yeah. Which I will make... I'm getting to as well. There are unique tropes that we're not used to seeing in anime, and so they stand out more. The screaming boy trope really stands out to me when watching lots of anime as an anime outsider, because in Western media, you don't just really commonplace have screaming boy.
Sure.
Whereas in anime, screaming boy is in every show. It's a thing. Similarly, transphobia takes many forms, and men dressing up as women for a joke is one of those forms and does occur in Western media, but occurs in anime so much more frequently. Way more frequently. In practically every fucking show I've seen. But it's handled differently in different shows. JoJo, one of the... We can argue about the intentionality, whether it is on purpose or not. One of the gayest shows ever made. Contains a moment where JoJo dresses up as a woman to disguise himself, and it's not immediately framed as funny. It's just a disguise. Then what happens is a soldier goes, "What the heck, man? You're a giant 7-foot muscular dude. No one believes that you're a woman." And JoJo is deeply offended that they don't think he's pretty enough. And that's the joke. Because it's funny that JoJo... what's funny is that JoJo... there's still, arguably a kind of transphobic thing to that, because it's then, maybe you're getting into a question of, passing, but, JoJo wanted to be pretty and to pass there, basically. That's what's funny about it, rather than it just being ha ha, it's funny when men dress as women. Whereas, by contrast, my favorite anime... Mob Psycho 100 features a bit where Reigen Arataka and Mob have a meeting in a private girls' school. Immediately cut, so that's been established, that's going to happen. Cut to, they're both dressed as women. Oh, ha ha, how funny that men would dress as women. That's the whole joke. In fact, it even goes on to them being denied at the gate. So therefore, you've got two comparable sequences where men disguised as women are denied by security, but the guy at the gate calls Reigen Arataka a disgusting pervert and calls him a freak and stuff. And it's see how JoJo handled this in a way that was charming and funny.
You're wanting to... I'm so sorry. You're wanting to knock down the satellite that is hanging from the wall.
Oh, no. I know.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm just making sure.
I like shooting all the panels off the moon.
I do too.
I do it every time. I just do it every time.
Fair enough.
But thanks anyway. It is. I am actually
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
I just want to make sure I have.
It's all good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anime. I don't want to do the. Well, as a trans person, transphobia doesn't bother me thing.
Yeah, why would you? Why would anybody?
But the men in a dress thing has not always. It doesn't always register with me as pure transphobia in the same way.
Yeah.
I understand why it is, and I guess it doesn't hurt me as much because it depends on how it's handled, obviously. But there's you can make the argument that Some Like It Hot is a transphobic mess because the whole thing is two guys masquerading as women, and they're a lot of the humor of that movie comes from, it's men in a dress. But at the same time, it's also a movie that treats them kind of surprisingly well, and there's a point where they get courted by an older man.
Yeah.
And one of the main characters is trying to be no, you don't understand. There's all these things that are wrong with me. You don't want to date me. And finally, at the end, rips off his wig and is fine, I'm a man. And the guy who's courting him is nobody's perfect. And that's the end. And it's and it's I don't know. There's just something.
No, I agree.
Really
Yeah. I agree completely.
I think, these conversations get so complicated because we're dealing with
Sorry.
We're dealing with an imperfect organism, human beings, with incomplete information, inventing stories out of whatever they can find, and it's. I can tell it's been a while since I took my medication because my thoughts are getting hazy. But this is always what's frustrating is that there's a narrow window in which I'm capable of forming 100% cogent thoughts.
Cogent or not, I'm enjoying all your thoughts. So there's that. Okay, it's a good. I'm having a good chat. It's good.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the idea that anime was a mistake. I think it's tempting to write off entire genres or entire regions, or I don't know. Because I've encountered this in so many different forms, and I don't. It doesn't scan to me as what they think it does.
So
to say
to me,
all anime is anything is foolish. But
I'm trying not to give away my entire essay here, but to me, it reads as a ploy by the reactionary fans of anime, the people who like anime and hate women, etc., to say we're allowed to never take anime seriously enough as to criticize it with social justice concepts.
Right.
So I think literally it is a tactic to make people cede it to the right wing, to say,
interesting.
It's a sort of planted meme, in my opinion. right wingers joke about anime being cursed all the time while loving anime, and it's but I just one thing I just wanted to say about the men dressing as women thing. My whole point that I was actually getting at, what with the comparison between the JoJo thing and the Mob Psycho thing, was just that I've always hated this whole way. My point in making that comparison was that tropes in media, you can compare different examples of them, and some are more egregious or less egregious, and that's kind of the point. So, I would agree about your kind of stuff you're saying about Some Like It Hot. and like sometimes things stand out as like particularly awful, and sometimes things are just kind of fine or better than fine. But like the larger point is just that there exist tropes in anime that people might not necessarily be used to.
Yeah. It's a good observation. The people trying to get people to see anime too, right? I don't know. My approach when any sort of like generic dismissal of something tends to come from a place of being somebody who adores silent cinema and films of the very early 19th century, and who has encountered pretty consistently the idea that silent cinema is boring, and everybody that I ever talk to about movies, almost always it's like, oh, I can't watch silent movies, they're so boring, they didn't know what they were doing.
That's a really silly take.
Yeah, and it's a common one, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that we just don't have like good media education.
Yeah, I believe that.
A frightening number of people haven't seen very many movies that were made before the year 2000. Let alone, even earlier on. But like, I don't know. I think a lot about like early cinema, because that was a time in Hollywood, such that it can even be said to exist at the time, that everything was like gender parity, and most like women directors were incredibly common, and were the ones inventing the language that we now understand as like standard cinema language.
Yeah.
And they were making movies that were, in some cases, more progressive than movies that we see in Hollywood today.
Yeah.
Those progressive ideas are often like tampered a bit by, rampant racism, and it's there's very few that I can think of that are a complete win. And there's a famous film that is stridently pro-abortion, and if you watch the film by itself, it's kind of amazing to watch for something that came out in like the 1910s. But then it feels a lot less revolutionary or like good when you recognize that the reason why the director was very pro-abortion is because they were taking it from the perspective of abortion is good for the lower class.
Right, eugenics. Yeah.
So there's some issues there.
Some kinds of issues for sure.
Yeah. But like, I as somebody who watches a lot of like international cinema, and I try to vary up my intake as much as possible. And also, as somebody who grew up in the South, I know a lot of people here who say, yeah, I like most music except rap, except country. And we sort of just say like, yeah, all rap is bad and all country is bad.
Also a bizarre take.
Like, it's just sort of an unwillingness to understand that like the most popular things that, I don't know, it's a fucking complicated. Rap is racist, country is classist. Citation needed there. Like music, like, I don't know.
I don't think you can call a genre. Well, I just don't think you can, like, if a genre were defined by like always Like, if a rap song could not exist without using the N-word, then, like, maybe make that argument. Or if a rap song couldn't exist without like relying on racial stereotypes, or I don't know, whatever your arguments would be for rap being racist, then, like, yeah, you could say that. But, like, I just don't believe you can make that kind of argument about a genre, because, like, it's not the inherent features of the genre that, like, cause the trends within it that, like, are whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I would say that, like, when we're talking about, sorry, a wingless monkey in the chat said hold on, wait, where is it? No, Umbra Sage said, wait, no, what the heck? Yes, okay, sorry. The chat moved fast, and it was the same order of the same people talking, and I got confused.
Okay.
Wingless Monkey said most modern country music either bores or nauseates me, and, like, my asterisk would be that I have a feeling that what you're referring to there is the stuff that gets, like, played on the radio, and like the stuff that is the most popular, which I would argue, like, yes, it is generally pretty bad, but it's not great. Like that, like, yeah, it's not great, but there's a lot more to the genre than just that, and like. I think a common mistake is to filter a genre or a group or whatever down to whatever is the most popular, when the fact is that whatever is the most popular tends to be whatever happens to appeal to the most people, and at that point it's the least common denominator, or most common denominator, and so it becomes so general as to be borderline messageless. Or in the case of a lot of modern country music, it's like just casually. I mean, like, Bo Burnham has an excellent bit about it in Make Happy, where he does, like, every country song that's on the radio, that I think kind of sums it up perfectly.
Right. So
I have to go pretty soon because
okay, fair enough.
My friend Marble is just gotten home from work, and we were planning on streaming Wolfenstein Youngblood.
You're going to another Wolfenstein stream, I see.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I only participate in this one as long as it benefits me, and then I must go.
I didn't know you were an egoist.
I'm an American, of course I'm an egoist.
Oh, I see.
I don't know.
That's fair. I mean, I'm going to wrap up the stream soon anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. I just... I don't know what I wanted to say. I wanted to say something. I can tell I'm hungry and tired, and my brain's not working anymore.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Monitoring yourself by how you can say words bad or good. One thing I was going to say earlier was just regarding my plan for a follow-up video to the BPD one. This time looking at, like, very bad representations of mental health in media. I was just thinking, one person who I actively quite like their stuff is Ari Aster, who I would in fact talk about in the video if I make it, because there is, like, a pattern of atrocious treatment of mental health in Ari Aster's stuff. I mean, the treatment of disabled people is actually worse, but, like, it's but mental health is that too. Like in Midsummer, there is this, like, throwaway line about, like, she has bipolar, you can't just keep giving her attention, and it's just like, okay, fuck you, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, so I mean, this is kind of set up of the first 10 minutes, so it shouldn't I don't know how much of a spoiler this is, but basically the character who has bipolar then kills herself, and it's just like, well, also to be clear, that's in the like descriptions you'll read online for the movie. So I hope really not spoilers, but people kill themselves. That is a reality. But you don't have to name a mental illness and just link it to a dead body on screen. Like, you don't have to do that. For the love of God, you do not need to do that. So that's was a thing I was thinking, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, to state about a follow-up that I want to do to my transitioning video. One thing that video contributes to that I wish that it didn't is the idea that, like, to be transgender is to suffer to some extent.
Oh, yeah.
And
like how it's been medicalized as the
like you need dysphoria in order to be transgender.
Yeah, exactly.
And just generally the idea that, like, being transgender is exclusively a painful experience, and that all narratives about being transgender, they tend to be about, like, the negative aspects, Yes. And that's just what everything focuses on. I want to do a video about the euphoria of being transgender, and, like, what I love about being transgender.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that, an early conversation that I had was somebody saying to me that, but transgender people have this, suicide rate and all of this, as if it's like, I understand the dangers, and I understand what, like, I understand what's the kind of, like, world that I'm stepping into when I transition. It's not that I don't know that. It's that I know it, and the exchange compared to where I am now is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found the sorry, you carry on. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I want to do a video about, like, no, my life is significantly better since I've started transitioning, and I don't like the idea that a lot of people watch. I don't know. There's so many common things. I just think my life is so much better, and I enjoy life so much more, and I have much better friends than I did before.
Yeah.
And I just, like, I want to do a video about that. That I don't know.
I completely get it. I mean, this is stuff I was saying in my BPD video because I wanted people to understand that, like, my life has gotten better due to certain changes that are good and important to me. Yeah. I need to go. Okay. I'll be wrapping up in a second anyway. It's fine.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
That's okay, anytime. And we'll be chatting, everybody will be chatting tomorrow on Lily's stream as well, so come by for that.
This is true.
We also have a podcast. It's good, folks. It's good. It's a good podcast.
Yeah, and if anybody doesn't know who I am, find me and all my stuff on Twitter at HMSNoFun. That's it.
Woo.
Okay.
Okay, seriously, anytime on here, you want to come hang out. Like, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I often have to wait up late for Natalie to finish shifts. So, by all means, come again.
Will do.
Okay, bye for now. Hey, folks. If you missed it before, by the way, our podcast is called Fish in the Percolator. It's a Twin Peaks rewatch podcast, and it's available on Spotify and the Lunar Light Studio Network homepage. But not iTunes yet, because iTunes is a fuck. Anyway, I'm probably going to head off as well. After I disintegrate that Nazi. Maybe this Nazi too? Oh, no, I can't get him. He's a dodgy boy. Oh, I got him. Hey-oh. Okay. Oh, no. Well, rip. Okay, guys, I'm heading off. It's been great to hang. Oh, it's so hot here. I'm sweating too much. I'm gonna be... I'll stream again sometime soon. Probably when I'm waiting up again for Natalie to finish a shift. Not sure when it'll be. I'm busy like Saturday through Monday at least, so don't expect any streams before Tuesday. But after that, who knows what the future holds. Very exciting. What an exciting time for you stream pals. Okay, so bye for now.